this.
If you really feel the need to continue with that joke, sir, you go right ahead.
Joe picked it up. He was like, I picked up that joke, and I was like, what joke? He was like, you're sponsored by Circuit City and Radio Shack. I was like, we are. I was like, and he was like, and that's why you're broke. So, yeah.
It's a slow burn, and by burn, I mean it's going through our savings. We ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Hey, folks, welcome to Bouncing Brains. I'm Sean Hatfield.
And I'm Freddy G.
Today on the podcast, we have guest comedian Timothy Looper.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Looper. How you been, man?
Pretty good.
Haven't seen you in a minute.
Yeah, I got a job at a call center, which is slowly killing me.
Oh, they're shitting on you, dude. Fucking shit.
Actually, they're not. They're not that bad because they're glad I'm white, which is...
yeah.
It's
You know what? I'm not going to lie. Every time that I call, because I worked in call centers for 7 years, 8 years, 7, 8 years in total. In a couple different call centers. So, and now that I don't, and now that I'm a customer of dealing with people in different call centers, like, you know how you call and you press 1 for English? Mm-hmm. Now I'm like on the side of like, please give me a white person, give me a white. Yeah, man, because I hate to press 1 for English. And I get a Filipino motherfucker. I get a Mexican dude with half English. Nothing wrong with Mexicans or Filipinos, but when I want to get my bills straight, I want to make sure you understand exactly what I'm complaining about. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I need somebody that can speak great English.
Dude, I got a great little story. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years now to turn it into a bit for the stage, but I got to go to space camp at one point, and we were doing simulations where you're basically locked in a closet that looks like the inside of a space shuttle or something like that, or a bay on the International Space Station,
or like your DJ.
Yeah. And this was before touchscreen stuff, so it's all old school analog NASA shit. And at one point we're doing like some simulation, like we're on a space station and like the shuttle's trying to come in and dock with us or something like that. And one of the guys I was working with was this real, like, very animated little Greek dude, like from Greece, like, and he talk. I'm not even gonna try to mimic his accent. He talked with a thick fucking accent. Like, don't get me wrong, like fucking eloquent little dude. We were both probably like 12 years old or so, and like he awesome little guy, very animated, very passionate. And at some point, the guy on the other end that was supposed to be mission control was this dude from Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Also a very thick accent. Also not necessarily accustomed to my little animated friend's accent. So he's like the mission commander, right? So it's like, yes, sir, no, sir, the whole fucking deal, because we're doing a simulation. And at one point, like, you just hear the guy on the other end go, hey, put Sean on, because I can't understand a word you're saying. And like...
And you told him the same thing.
I had mentioned it earlier in, like, maybe like 10, 15 minutes earlier. I had just been like, hey, I don't remember what his name was, but let's call him, Nasos or something. It's like, hey, brother, it's like, it might be better, because he was having to repeat himself already. I was noticing the pattern. Mm. And like, I was like, maybe I should talk to, Cletus on the other end there.
Was Cletus' real name, or was that?
No, man. No. These were all great people, man.
I like how Cletus is the more racist.
Nobody speaks Greek.
I think that was his whole point with that, of using Cletus, because...
My point was, this guy was like almost a quarter smaller than me. Like, he was like... You know what I'm saying? He was less than a full me. Like, he looked like a child.
Yeah, he was the inside of the Jack in the Box, yeah.
Yep.
He lost his shit. Like, he just went off. Like, I'd always heard that the Greeks were a passionate people, but even their younglings, Yeah, man, he went off, man, and like they had to, like you could hear him on the mic because it was like I think it was sound activated or something, and like on the other end, I kept hearing their radio click on and off from the fucking because he would just be like fuck this man, fucking blah, 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 do this, fucking same fucking. I'm the commander. I am the mission commander. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, man, and as the mission commander, you got to facilitate. Clear and meaningful communication.
Clear channel of communication, yeah.
Like lunchtime comes around and he's like somebody rolls in like with the official like name tag on and they're like, hey man, can you come over here, man? We want you guys gotta hug and make up, shake hands, kiss for the camera. And so we rolled outside and
NASA doesn't do racism.
I was like Nasos and he's like Sean and I'm like, hey brother, we're good. I'm like, all right, man, cool, man. It's like, well, fuck Cletus, right? And he's like, yeah, fuck Cletus, man. we were cool.
That's funny. You should.
Yeah, this is a good bit.
You should turn into a bit.
Right on. So you're dealing with, you're not calling people. You're dealing with call-ins.
Yeah, we can call back, but that talked to us already about that. Like,
I'm pretty sure you can't share who
I work for?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I used to do a bit about working for the pharmacy, and I'm not going to tell you who I work for, but I'll give you a hint. It's on the corner of Happy and Go Fuck Yourself, which is kind of, and the thing, like, well, I won't tell you who I work for, but it's
actually hold on,
most hated business in the world or in America.
There's a lot of fucking those.
No, it's actually rated the worst in the country.
Wait, hold on. He can say it and you can bleep it out, right?
Let's just say it's a bomb-ass business. Yes? Close?
Bomb-ass business? No, I don't work for Lucky Martin.
Boom! Yeah. Okay, cool, man. No, I'd rather you not say it on here. I'd have to go back and clip it.
It's a cable and internet kind of thing.
No, I got you, man.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I was trying to do a rhyming thing there, and you shut me down, man.
Oh, sorry.
I do feel bad for you because I think I used to work for them.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that any customer calling into that hotline is already keyed up to be pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, but that's kind of I've dealt with customer service before and stuff like that. Like when I used to work in the pharmacy, we'd get people that were like hopped up or wanted to be hopped up and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like, well, at least they can't stab me over the phone. So that's cool. But cool. I mean, yeah, a lot of it is just I mean, the big reason I took the job is because like I wanted more experience, like dealing with people and stuff like that. I felt like I wasn't getting that. So I was like, I can talk to people, and if like anything funny happens, that I might jot it down and write it down and stuff like that. And then the first day that I'm there, they're like, "Oh yeah, you don't. There's no phone." I was like, "Okay, that's reasonable." I was like, "No pen and paper." That's fuck. Like, because my normal day-to-day life, I just have pen and paper on me at all times, just because anything funny happens, I'll write it down because. For me, it's faster than pulling out my phone, unlocking it, going to that app, and then typing it in or whatever. So
that's. Wait, I'm not gonna let you just go past that like you didn't say that. That's an interesting tactic. So I'm pretty sure before I continue with this, I'm pretty sure you're not the only one that does it. But so you have pen and paper on you all the time.
Yeah.
And then you
at least I have paper, or at least I have pen on me. Paper you can usually find in the form of a napkin or...
Yeah, I got you. I understand.
Back of my hand or something.
My point with that was going to be, so you have it all the time, and you just kind of, you go about your day every single day, and just, I don't want to say wait, because I think that's the wrong word, but like... you kind of wait for an observation. And you're like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah, or if something happens, like it's not so much that I'm conscious of it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just like if that happens to be funny, or if it just if it kicks my mind into something, and I start thinking, like if I start ignoring the world and start thinking about something, then I'm like, oh, that's definitely something I I care about or I want to come back to.
Now let
Dude,
me.
within the last 3 days, I've had one of those notes where I went back and read it, and I was like,
The fuck did I mean?
yeah. What the hell kind of cryptic bullshit is this?
Let me ask you this: since you also do that, do you also have the habit of also like sitting down and dedicating some time to just writing?
No, not at all.
No.
I wish I did. I tried to for a while. Yeah, just really, we talked about this a little bit, and because you have a government job and I have, just in case I want to get another job, we're not going to go too far into this. But finding creativity can sometimes be hard, and sometimes there's easier ways to like kind of kick it into high gear. But yeah, I find that like it's a little hard for me just to be like go and sit down and write. I've done it a few times where I go to a coffee shop and I'll be there for a couple hours and then just start writing and stuff like that. I think I did it last time I did it. There was a guy that sat across from me, or not across, but like adjacent to me, and he had 2 Bibles, which is already like, oh, there's something there. And he's going through like page by page and like taking notes. I was wondering if he had like a different version of the Bible, and he was seeing like if there was like conflicting ideals, because what's the Bible? What's the is, but like if there was like errors or something, or if he was like a proofreader for the Bible or something. I didn't know what was going on. It was just a weird thing.
Well, oddly enough, having looked up biblical passages recently, there is actually a website that gives you a comparison between damn near 24 different versions.
Oh,
so yeah,
so that guy could have just gone online then.
And of course, if you're some weirdo looking up quotes for a conspiracy theory, it's always the one version that you needed that wasn't there. Yeah.
The mythical 25th version.
The one they dug up in West Virginia when Jesus rode over on that canoe.
Yeah, Jesus is from was it northern Pennsylvania?
We all know Jesus was a Yankee,
but a Mets fan in real life. Yeah, religion's weird.
There's something there about the underdog. I don't know.
The underdog? Yeah.
And like, because I was leaning into the reason I was asking that is because I kind of wanted to dig into a little bit like on your creative process, like if it was something.
There's no process. There's no creative. No, that's not completely true, because like I can sit down and write something. I've done it to where I've like the set that I'm doing, that came out of nowhere, and I wrote most of it, and I've done most of it. I wrote like a good 10-minute long set about finding porn that you had lost, or like I wrote it out as like because I had been watching those
Porn.
No, yeah. I mean that's there, but no, the what's that Comedy Central show where people go up and tell stories about their life?
This isn't happening.
Yeah, this isn't happening, and I realized like I didn't have any stories, or like I don't really do stories up there, so I decided to try my hand at that. I'll do stuff like that, like kind of give myself a theme, and then try to work around it. Like I have, let's see. I got all the emotions from Inside Out.
Yeah,
and I tried to write a bit about them, like not like the actual things, but kind of like have different jokes about different emotions that are in that movie.
Yeah,
so, like anger and sadness and whatever, joy, and then because like people say that comedy comes from misery or sadness or something. I was like, well, I mean, let's see if I can do the anger and happiness and stuff like that, hit those other emotions.
Yeah.
So that way, if I ever need to do it, I can just like I'm going this way with it, see if I can go this way with it, and like play around with it.
Gotcha.
Smart.
And going back to what you were saying, that there's no creative process, and like I tell everybody that whether you're just a plain writer, a screenwriter, a comic, anybody that does anything in the creative space, you do have creativity. It just may be different than what everybody else or that from the norm, So that, and that's also the reason as to why I ask, because for another reason is that actually like Sean has a process of writing. I have a process of writing. You have a process. I've known people that their process to come up with material is actually not writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They don't write it. They don't write anything.
like depending on what they're doing, they might just go up on stage.
Yeah.
And I did that for a while. Like I would have just like inklings of ideas, just kind of like topics, and I'd go up there and like flesh them out, which is what a lot of people do for, especially at open mics and stuff. For a long time, it felt weird because like I'd go at open mics and like I would listen to sets and stuff, and if someone said something, I'd be like, oh, I could build off that, which kind of like, but then like I would feel bad about it.
Poor practice.
Yeah, but like I would use it in that one night and then just never use it again. But I like always like, oh yeah, he was talking about that. Like let me build off on that. But it was mostly just like the not so much the joke itself, just like the kind of open ended idea. Like I have my joke about catcalling, and I did it at an open mic at a coffee shop, where I first saw you. I think it was you, and then some guy who was a doctor, and he talked about catcalling.
Oh,
and
you
like
were there?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
I remember.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And it was the first time I ever did that joke.
I'm not even gonna lie, bro. Like, I don't remember that being you. I remember the doctor.
Yeah, I think I went after the doctor. Well, I did
Holy
because
shit.
he
That was at Luna's coffee house.
yeah.
Right on, man.
It was a little while ago.
Yeah, man, that was a while ago.
Yeah. But like that kind of that added a bit to it. It's kind of like these things that I forget. Like someone talked about Vicks, how in Mexican culture it's a thing that like a heal all.
Yeah.
Kind of like vodka
It
for
literally,
Russians.
is. You can break your fucking neck, and your grandma will be like, "Just put some Vicks on it and take a nap."
Yeah, exactly.
You've got I forget how the joke goes exactly, but the dozen eggs and the...
Yeah, like I worked in a pharmacy. I had an older Mexican lady. She bought a dozen eggs and a bottle of Vicks. Like I don't know a lot about Mexican culture, but I'm pretty sure that's how you perform an exorcism. and like it was just that because I knew the eggs thing is for like more mythical kind of
the evil-eyed thing.
Yeah, the yolk in it, and then just slather some Vicks on it. It's like just combine it, and those are both like two things that are kind of rooted in people, especially people from here or Mexican culture kind of thing. Like it's more of like a visual kind of like it's in their mind's eye. So when you say something like that, it hits pretty well.
Yeah, it's what we call relatable comedy.
Exactly.
I got you. I'm not gonna lie, man. I tried doing that once. I tried just going on stage and just riffing what was on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible fucking idea. I got no laughs, and I got, not only did I not get any laughs, but I got like that awkward silent treatment and they like people could tell. Now this was years ago. But that's where I learned. That's where I learned. I was like, never do that again. Again, for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was like, no, I'm never doing this shit again.
The fucked up part about that, though, is that the moment that you do need that quick-witted, firing from the hip,
mentality,
that talent, that ability to be as on the strong point is when you're losing a crowd and you gotta
bring them back.
Yeah, I mean, you can always do the, enunciate the next syllable and hope that maybe that gets their attention back to you. But the best way to do it is to kind of riff on the moment as it's happening.
No, and that is cool. I'm with that. And that I do. Because it's happened to me where I'm in the middle of transitioning from one bit to another. Mm-hmm. But when I transition, I normally always try to make sure that I transition with a punchline most of the time, not always. But my problem has been that I fucking forget the punchline, like the one that I'm connecting. And then I'm like, fuck. So then what I do, like Sean said, it's good to whatever I said last, kind of like try to riff on that. And then I know it's bad practice, and I try to get away from it. But like to riff and then to throw it back to the crowd. Like basically kind of do crowd work.
Hmm.
I don't like doing that because it makes me feel shitty. Because it kind of makes me feel like I just let them know that I kind of fell off. So I try to stay away from that.
Oh yeah, but they have no idea what's going on. Like they don't know if it's like a bit or if it's part of your
No,
act.
I
they know
do,
as much as you tell them.
I do feel that some people like they do, like some people do know that you kind of fell off a little bit. I have that feeling.
Well, I mean, but there's to the more observant of them. But if you play it off, like as long as you're not up there, like where the fuck was I?
and then what has worked for me before, and again I've only done it like maybe 2 or 3 times. What has worked for me before was actually admitting openly.
Yeah.
One time, same thing. I forgot I laid out the premise and built it up awesome, like they were waiting for the punchline, right? And I forgot, right? And when I forgot it, this is all I said. I was like, and I'm not gonna lie, I totally fucked up that joke because I forgot my punchline. And they laughed. Like they laughed hard, and I was like, "Well, shit, thank you."
Oh yeah.
And
Like,
it was a genuine. They weren't like ha ha type of. No, it was a genuine laugh that they gave me. So that's
you edged the audience.
Well, that's one of those deeper layer interpretations of the whole comedy is truth statement. It's like you got to be truthful in the moment.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's like I could be telling you some nursery rhyme bullshit, but
and that's
in the
what
moment I felt it was appropriate.
Yeah, and that's what made me like that's what made me learn that. Like I learned to be comfortable on stage with my fuck ups and letting them know, like but I was like the only way that's gonna work is if I actually make it work, like make it funny. And like Sean said, the best way to make it funny is like admit it and reiterate that you fucked up. And it goes back to what I've always said. A crowd will always appreciate honesty. Like if you're honest with them. But if you're not, they're kind of then that's when you get the kind of ha ha kind of laugh. And it goes back to the whole riffing part. That's why it's better to riff and stuff like that. But as long as you don't go on a tangent and fucking
I think tangents can be fun. Like
no, but I'm saying then completely leave off the fact that you got another 2 or 3 bits that you do remember is kind of what I mean.
I got a little historical anecdote that is tangentially appropriate because you showed me one of my favorite Gary Shandling videos of all time, which was him on the green room with Paul Provenza, Bo Burnham, Mark Maron, and
Judd Apatow. And Ray Romano.
Romano was on there too.
Yeah, it was Ray Romano and Bo Burnham, and then Paul Provenza and Mark Maron, and on the opposite side it was Gary Shandling and I've watched this a bunch of times. It was Gary Shandling and Judd Apatow, and
Bo Burnham.
Yeah, Bo Burnham was next to Ray Romano because it's one of my favorite episodes too.
Right, dude. Shit, I remember we were watching that in the back of a car coming back from an open mic in Corpus. Yeah. There was 5 or 6 of us in the damn thing squashed in.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as that other time that we did that, but it was still a lot of people.
Yeah.
I forgot who was in that. It was you, me, Mark.
Wait, hold on. We're talking about the first time, right?
Yeah, the one where we watched.
Yeah.
I know Mark was in there, but
Mark, yeah. I want to say Joseph was there. Rudy, perhaps. Maybe not Rudy. Maybe someone else.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I remember you were there. I remember Mark was there, and me, I was driving.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that episode because it I think for me, because I like the whole setup of that kind of show, where they just have a bunch of comics, kind of like in a day, was a dais, right? And then they kind of just shoot the shit. They have kind of it's like a podcast, but it was on Showtime or something. But and then the audience is behind them, just like staring in. So it kind of plays off that whole a comedian in front of an audience. They're all staring at you, but it kind of just like. It still plays with that, but as opposed to, it kind of sets it up in a way like this is how comics normally are, just talking to each other, and you're just viewing it from the outside in.
Regardless of what angle they chose to go with for the camera, you always got somebody who is basically staring at the back of a comedian's head.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, it was definitely, it was pretty fun. I like and then the fucking cameras were like, you can tell it was just some guy just circling like a shark, and then. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a fun show to watch. That episode I really enjoyed because it kind of, there weren't a lot of people talking over each other, and it was a lot of like really good talent. Like these guys were like heavy hitters. Shanling, Apatow, and Romano have been in it. Marin too. Even Paul Provenza is pretty. Well, it's not steady, but he's been in there since like the early 80s, stuff like that.
Yeah, he actually had a show back in the 90s. There's an episode with Bill Hicks on where it was one of those old school 90s shows where it was like, let me read you a setup for one of your jokes, and then you will give us the punchline. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of talk shows are still like that. Like you'll get people that go on and they'll just do like 5 minutes. Like even like the bigger you are, the less you have to do it on stage.
Dude, in both basketball and entertainment, the 90s were all about the layup.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was.
But yeah, that was great, especially because you kind of got a shitty attitude off of Marin for most of that episode.
Yeah, it was kind of like
Shandling
brooding.
was kind of like hesitant about Burnham's presence there. He's like, I'm familiar with the rest of you.
I'm gonna observe you.
And then when Burnham goes up and does I'm an artist or whatever the name of that song.
Art is Dead, I think.
Art is Dead.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Shandling's kind of like nodding, like yes, he can be one of us. And then and Marin's just got that fuck, I've stuck my foot in my mouth look.
Yeah.
But to
even like as soon as he gets off, you can tell Mark is kind of like, fuck, that was good, and he just says like, oh yeah, that was cute. And at the time, Bo Burnham was like 22 or 23, and just like he was already like killing it. As far as like being up there and stuff like that.
I want to say it was Provenza that actually asked him to do Art is Dead. And you could tell that he had seen him and he was like, ooh, look. Like he was definitely, it was like, I'm going to put you at a table full of heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Because if you look at some of those panels that he put together, it was there were contentious choices. Mm-hmm. Nothing like trying to pick a fight, but there were definitely like
different opposing like kind of ideologies.
Yeah, putting Jim Jeffries on with Paul Mooney was genius and provocative at the same time.
Or what was it I know he had the British comics and that one was okay. But he had like Eddie Izzard. Is it Izzard or
Izzard?
Yeah, his name is kind of weird.
Yeah,
and I always get it confused with Eddie.
Eddie Izzard. And I'm not gonna lie, I learned that today.
The person?
I thought it. No. I know who he is. The pronunciation.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was Izzard.
And then he also.
So it's Izzard.
Eddie Izzard. Yeah.
Izzard. Okay.
Yeah. So he had like three. He had him. The other musical act, long hair, I forgot his name too.
Mitchum or something, Mitchell or...
I think it's both M's, like Mitchell.
I was just watching Californication a while back, and he played a drugged up rock star on that show. Very hilarious.
They're very funny. And then the other one was fucking fake laugh guy. Or it's a real laugh, I think. He does all the panel shows. I forgot his name.
Gervais?
Not Ricky Gervais. It's I forget his name. He does mostly like insult comedy, but he like does like a big arena and like people will shout out and he's like, "Oh, your mother's."
Oh, fucking, is it, help me, we were just talking about him.
Were we? Frankie Boyle?
No. Fucking, I know who you're talking about.
Jimmy Carr.
Oh, Jimmy Carr. Yeah.
Oh, that's not who I was saying.
Suits and shit. Yeah.
He wears a suit and then he calls your mother a cunt. And then he has like that laugh that he's kind of known for.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that has the tagline. Well, it's not a tagline. It's just what he always fucking says. Cunt sucker. Right?
Oh, I think it's not normal. I think that's how he says hi.
No, well, that's what I'm saying.
Just
like,
the dialect where he's from.
Cunt sucker. Is
yeah, he does like he's really like put together and stuff like that. And then he goes and like most of his show is like him, making fun of the audience for talking or stuff like that.
Russell Peters is what I was gonna say. Because Russell Peters has a tendency of doing that.
Russell Peters is the Indian comic.
Yeah, he's a
Indian-Canadian comic.
Indian-Canadian comic that dated a porn star.
Yeah.
We're just adding more things to his resume.
Yeah. And he's but I mean I've seen Peters like most of his specials.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but to always think that he makes me feel that without crowd work, like his material wouldn't stand. He makes me feel that way.
That's understandable, man.
I think he's pretty solid, but he's pretty solid with his
No.
work.
That's what I was gonna say. Like his crowd work is solid, but I don't like. I don't know. It's just my personal opinion as a comic. Crowd work is fine, but I just feel that if like you're a true comic down to your core, your material should be your bread and butter. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen the same scenario play out through his specials. You know what I'm saying? Even in his earlier career. And it just and again, I'm not in any way, shape, or form, like you said, saying that his he sucks.
Oh,
his crowd work is, like I said, it's solid. It's solid. Than I was telling Sean that the only other comic that I feel that has solid crowd work, like better than Russell, is D. Ray Davis. And D. Ray Davis is more so because his is not even fucking crowd work. He's just roasting everybody. But he will roast the shit. You don't want to go into a roast battle with him. He will roast the shit out of you. Like,
I don't. Just to point it out, I don't think you really said this, but just to be clear for anyone listening to the conversation, I don't think it's a negative if a comic is the type of if their approach to it involves enough crowd work that if you took the crowd away, they wouldn't still be funny. Like if they were just saying, like literally standing in front of you saying this out loud, it wouldn't still necessarily, they'd just be fucking with you, and at that point, it's kind of annoying.
To be fair, a lot of our jokes wouldn't work like in that situation.
True. I've hesitated to do it, but Maria Bamford has a special out where it's just her performing for her parents on a couch.
I think I saw that one.
Okay. Don't ruin it for me, I guess. But
I don't remember it. I can't remember it.
Don't remember it.
I got since y'all are talking about that, I got an even better one. Gerard Carmichael just shot a full special.
That one was directed by Bo Burnham.
Yeah. The one where there's no audience.
Oh,
no, then we're not talking. He just no. You're right. It's not that one. Because this one he shot and directed the special, and there's no. He's not the performer though. I keep forgetting the performer's name, the comedian's name. But he just shot a special with no audience. It's just him. It's just the comic
standing on stage.
On stage, it's like a theater.
So he's performing for nobody. Oh, he's performing for the audience at home.
Yeah, for the one. And this was actually Showtime picked it up. They sold it to Showtime. So I've been wanting to watch it, but it hasn't aired. It hasn't fucking aired again, and it's not available on demand.
Well, that goes to what I was saying because there was another comic. Oh shit, his name is right there on the tip of my tongue. I was thinking of him earlier because I was going to make a comparison with your style to someone like Stephen Wright, who we were talking about before. The being able to use the monotone, delivery style effectively, because you're surprisingly a physical comedian when it comes to acting out like scenarios on stage.
Yeah, ironically enough, I've noticed. I forgot that I do that in real life, and then I've started to slowly add it back into my set. But yeah, like I don't really. And it's, now that you say that, it is kind of because I never liked the idea of being monotone. I don't think anybody really does. But I've had multiple people tell me that in my life, and I'm just like, "Fuck, okay, well, I guess I got to roll with it." And then, but when I do get excited about something, or I start telling a joke that I'm like that I like, or I get into, I do, my energy picks up, and then I do act it out and stuff like that in just my normal day-to-day life.
It's okay to be completely deadpan monotone.
Oh, no.
You can be hilarious. I mean, Chris Farley was hilarious.
That's true, but I don't think I could do.
It was kind of on the what?
Y'all didn't fucking catch that, man. Fuck. Are y'all asleep? I said Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Chris Farley was completely the fucking opposite of
Actually,
monotone.
I thought you were talking about him now.
On some of his stage work was done with that you remember the interviews he would do for SNL where he would interview like Paul McCartney. He's like, so you were in the Beatles, right? He did a lot of his character work on when he was doing stand up type of stuff was very similar to that. So, but he played up the awkwardness of it, whereas old Looper here is more on the monotone, like almost like I could be somewhere much better than this right now.
It's almost like a dry.
There's a bit of disdain on it, just
the
little disdain.
The other one that I notice a lot, and I talk about him a lot on this podcast, but it's because he intrigues me to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna shut this off, but then he says something. And then it's like, okay, I'll shut it off after this punchline. And then fucking 40 minutes later and I'm still there. Theo Von.
Oh, Theo Von?
He has a different type of monotone, not really monotone.
Yeah, it's kind of like a...
It's still... And yeah, I feel that he has one of the simplest jokes that is like absolutely fucking hilarious. The Denny's bit. Have you heard him?
I think
he
I
has
saw
a
the Denny's,
whole bit about Denny's, and he's just shitting on Denny's.
I'm surprised him and,
totally, and you know what his punchline is? His punchline is, "Fuck Denny's. I wish people would stop shooting up movie theaters and shoot up Denny's." Oh yeah. But the way he says it is like
Theo Von is like that embodiment of the American stereotype of like the
Southern.
Yeah, but it's like they're saying something to you in that nice little soft drawl, but then like you actually listen to what they're saying and you're like, "What the fuck? You huh?
Yeah,
how many squirrels did you eat?"
Yeah, it's kind of.
And you sexually penetrated them beforehand. It's amazing.
exactly.
Or like, have you ever heard of Minnesota Nice?
It sounds familiar.
It's called Minnesota Nice. It's
Oh, Minnesota Nice. I thought you said Minnesota Nights.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Sounds like
nice. No, I know what you mean. It's that, yeah.
It's the backhanded compliments that, people from Minnesota area kind of give you.
The southern equivalent being like, "Oh, God bless you."
Yeah, exactly. Bless his heart.
There you go. Bless his heart.
Oh,
it's like, oh, he's retarded. That's basically what that means. It's not, it's just backhanded compliments trying to like not even thinly veiled. I think they actually believe they're being nice, but they're just...
Yeah.
It's like when someone walks up to you in public and says, "I'm praying for you." It's like,
and
I
then
don't even know you.
You could just give me money.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And he's one where like he's not monotone. like what I call it, because it's the only thing that I can base it on.
It's not high energy.
I'm sorry.
It's not high energy.
Not on, but that's the thing though. I'm just focusing on his tone, the tone, and the delivery, and then he has a way of like taking on this joke and making you feel that there's no way that what he's saying can be funny, and then out of nowhere he like he pulls out that fucking, and then some of the punchlines are drastic. Like that one, it's like I wish people would fucking stop shooting up movie theaters and shoot up a fucking Denny's. And then the tagline to that was like, "Why can't you take your family to IHOP like a real man?"
That is pretty funny. I think I have seen that one. I'm surprised him and Chris D'Elia haven't gotten into it about their Denny's bits.
Chris D'Elia has a...
No, anytime he's on Twitter and he does something, like his whole fan base is like, slam. Like, it's kind of like Twitter, you know, anytime you insult someone bad and like you got served a slam or a grand slam, and then they Photoshop his face on like promotional ads from Denny's. So like you have Chris D'Elia's face like giving them a plate for like a grand slam, and he has a bunch of that stuff. I don't know if I find him funny.
D'Elia?
Yeah. Like I don't know if I find I don't think I've ever seen his stand up.
well then why would you judge
because I've seen him like on stage and stuff. Like I've seen his stand up, but I've never seen one of his specials. Sorry, what I mean.
Okay. I've seen two, and I'm with you on your comment. He's this is crazy. Like
he's entertaining.
He's entertaining, but he's not really funny. He has stage presence. That's what he has.
I think I'd enjoy the show.
But as far as his material, like if you peel it down to like what it is, it's not. I think the only reason that his material works is because he makes it work with his stage presence.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, Joe Rogan thinks he's fucking hilarious. He thinks he's great. And I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck you've been watching.
I mean, it's fine.
He's great on Twitter, man.
Oh, yeah, he's very entertaining on Twitter. I mean, same thing with Rogan. Like, I don't enjoy all of his stand-up. Some of his bits I like are fucking amazing. Like his whole Texas and Tigers thing.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious. Like, if you've never heard it, it's just one of the greatest, like, funniest bits I've ever heard. It's definitely something very Joe Rogan.
The one that I liked about him, but see, it wasn't even enough to like stay stamped in my head. He has one bit, and it's like 6 minutes long, but it's about alien life. And what I remember that made it really funny is because he takes you very detailed through the bit, right? Mm. And as you're listening to the bit, he almost makes you believe like that could happen. And then you kind of remember like, oh wait, no, that can't happen, man. Like aliens aren't here. And that's what like made it funny for me. But I think, like I said, the bit wasn't good enough to resonate with me. Yeah. Kind of like the Denny's bit. Yeah, like
he still stays with. Do you guys have any like Dirty Secret comics?
Oh, wait a minute, hold up. What do you mean? What does that mean exactly?
You're almost ashamed that you enjoy.
Were you familiar with Sean Rouse?
Just because he has your name. I don't know. I haven't.
No.
What was your last? I'm sorry. What was your last piece of that comment you said?
Oh, I said because he has the same name.
No, before that.
Oh, do you have any like comics that you're ashamed to admit that you enjoy?
Oh, okay. I heard you right. Go ahead.
Sean Rouse.
There's Sean Rouse, and then there's Sean. Fuck, I can't remember his last name. He's a Canadian dude, but he looks like a white rapper. Like he's got like a grilled teeth.
Is it like what was the number one American kind of thing, or the kind of like a persona?
It's been a few years since I've seen him. Like, no, this is like really him.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, Canadians go hard, man. They're where was I going? By the way, there is some great Canadian comics that just I don't think got enough love in the early 2000s. And
yeah, and then they kind of it's hard to break in, like across the border, I guess.
yeah. There's this one dude whose name I can't remember at all, man. But he used to do this bit about, and you can find it on YouTube. I think I can't remember what the special was, but he's talking about going down to Florida with his other two big lumberjack looking Canadian buddies,
Mm-hmm.
and they got down there and got into a bikini contest / drinking swimming contest, and like his big 300-pound buddy like outswam everybody and then managed to chug down 2 gallons by himself of beer, and then had a split in his shorts so his fucking ball was hanging out like some sort of great stuff, man.
Yeah, that sounds very...
How did we get on? Dirty Comics. So anyway, I can't remember the Canadian dude's name, but Sean Rouse most definitely. And if you haven't seen him, I would recommend starting off with watching the documentary The Unbookables.
That sounds like a fun...
Well, hold on. I think we've talked about Doug Stanhope before, right?
Probably, yeah.
As a reference point. Yeah, man. A lot of the comics that Stanhope works with as far as like road comics and whatnot, Andy Andrist, Sean Rouse, I can't remember the third guy's name. He's actually the one who made the documentary, and then they had... Anyway, long story short, The Unbookables. Great documentary for stand-up. It's dirty. Sean Rouse actually at one point gets drunk. They do the first gig at a 3-night show. He gets drunk the first night and goes face first into the carpet. So he's got rug burns down his face, like just looks like scabbed and all this, fresh rug burn. And he goes in and does the show the next night, and he's just like making up stories and shit about why he's got this shit down his face. It's great, man. But he's a filthy fucking comic, man.
Okay.
And he had, he was one of these guys that didn't give a shit. He was almost Bukowski-ish in the sense that like, he was like, I'm fucked. But like, cause he had like, lupus and just horrible.
Oh, so he knew he had one, like.
Yeah, he died recently. I think he died maybe earlier this year sometime. But it was one of those.
Who's this again?
Sean Rouse.
Oh.
You say the name and it sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Oh, Jason Rouse was actually the Canadian dude. Loves to say cunt. Actually, they both love to say cunt, but the Canadian dude's still alive. Jason Rouse is the Canadian. Sean Rouse is my dirty secret favorite comic.
And they're like related, or
no, not at all.
Just
not
common
just
last name in
Rouse,
Canada.
Just Rouse. That's There's come on. There's all kinds of English castaways running around.
Yeah,
the Greater North,
yeah,
fighting off the Francos.
And then when they move to California, they become the Francos.
Just to kind of skip back on a tangent that I was going to interject. Speaking of Ray Romano earlier, if you have not seen Ray Romano on the TV series Get Shorty, I highly recommend it.
No, I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things about that show.
Yeah.
I was watching his early... I saw his Letterman debut, where he basically it's what made him, but it was like his last, because he was kind of older when he got into comedy or something. He talks about it, and he talks about how it was his big shot. It was his last thing, and you can kind of tell like he was desperate on that. Like he was giving it. He was funny as fuck, but he was giving it his all. And Letterman, thought he was hilarious, especially like his one bit about it's kind of gross, but he'd brush his teeth and then spit it in the sink, and then like wait for it to dry and serve it as like mince to his shitty like house guest or something like that. It's kind of like, it's very visual, but kind of is really gross. And Letterman apparently loved that joke, but I didn't realize like it was like a good 7 minutes, like 7 or something, on Letterman, which is a long time. But I forgot that was a big thing back in the day, like comics going on.
I thought you meant the entire bit about the...
Oh, no. It might have been. I don't fucking remember, honestly. But
drag that toothpaste bit out, man.
Yeah, no shit. But no, it was like 7 minutes. Because like now comics get like 2 to 3 minutes on Stan or on Conan or whoever's booking.
Yeah, 5 or 6 minutes is a long set.
Yeah. It's usually like 2 to 3, and then they get a commercial break. But then they don't ever go to the couch to talk or anything.
I just saw last night last night's episode, and they had 6 minutes, I think. So
That's pretty good. Were they like a returning comic or?
yeah. Well, I mean, but yeah, well, I get it. Then again, it was Kevin Hart. So.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's different. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're like a new person or something like that, or just.
Oh, when they're a new person, you mean?
Yeah, they get like 3 minutes or something like that, like or
gotcha.
tight 5 or 4 or whatever.
Because because also Jerry Seinfeld recently went on again, and they gave him 5.
Oh yeah,
he did like 5 minutes and 5 seconds or something like that. Yeah.
Well, very unprofessional. It's supposed to be a tight 5, but whatever.
You tell Jerry that.
Well, we'll send him this tape. This is what
I wish he would definitely watch this.
I was just thinking if I was booking late night spots for any of the talk shows, man, I'd book Louis C.K. for 1 minute, and it'd basically be like, explain yourself, and you just cut to him, and he goes, and you just cut away. Oh yeah, definitely from the waist up.
Yeah. Did you see that the clip of I think it was a football game, but they had like all the they had veterans and like football players, and they were holding the flag, and the flag was like waving like violently, but they just had from like the top up, so you just saw. And they would just cut to everybody else, and everybody was just doing that.
That's funny.
And the person, it was great because it wasn't like a screen cap or anything. It was the person who found it funny, rewound on their DVR, played it again, and just were losing their shit to it as well. And it's like, oh, okay, this is awesome. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, man.
I forgot what we were talking about. Yeah, probably. Oh, I don't want to get into Lucy Cage masturbating.
The 5 minute sets on.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just kind of like how it is. I guess if you're you're kind of a proven comic, then they'll give you more time. Or if you've been up there multiple times, then they kind of give you like more leeway. But if you're just starting out, then which is why it's kind of weird, since it was his first time on Letterman, and he got 7 minutes, and he was really giving it his all, because like at the end of it, they're like, okay, yeah, we're out of time, and he goes up and he's like saying, yeah, and he's just like, give me more time, man, I can do better. And it's just like, no, dude, you did great. You just need to be okay with it. It's done.
Yeah, man. At a certain point, you nail the dismount and you get the fuck off stage.
Oh yeah, but he was ready. Like that was like a make it or break it moment for him. It's like either he's not going to do it anymore and get a real job, or just because he had 2 kids at that point and everything, and then or he's gonna make his career, and from there he'll be able to do. He becomes Ray Romano.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I think that show on. What is it? Is it Showtime that's doing...
Was it I'm Dying Up Here?
I'm Dying Up Here.
Fuck you, by the way.
What?
You and Rudy, I don't know if it was this podcast or the other one, you guys talked about the...
did we spoil some shit for you?
Yeah, you ruined the final episode. And it was funny, well, because I hadn't started the second season. I didn't even know that it had started or finished. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. They reminded me. And then you ruined it, and I was like, oh... And I started watching it, and I remembered that you said something. You ruined it, and it was with the character with an R. And they had just they introduced a new character with the first name with an R. I was like, oh yeah, he seems like he could. But the other one, I was like, fuck, okay, well, we'll see.
See, now we're gonna get a bad fucking comment on our shit, Sean.
No, that was a Mad Laughter episode, I believe.
Oh yeah, I think so. But yeah, it was a good. I enjoyed it.
My point was, I think one of the reasons it works so well and that it's as engaging as it is especially from the kind of, we're doing comedy and we're looking back on the history of what comedy has been. Mm-hmm. And we don't necessarily have those motivations anymore. There's not a whole lot of us trying to get on radio or, get a commercial or, it's... I mean, don't get me wrong. There are folks that are still out in LA that are putting in work and shit, but it's like your average comedian at this point is not flocking to the major city trying to get those kind of gigs, and those that are tend to be the ones that are better suited for it now.
I kind of want to do something like that. Like that's kind of I want to buy a van and kind of convert it into like a living space and then kind of travel. and
Right
like
on.
hit up like major cities and like be there for a little while and like actually, like incorporate into the scene, and then just once I'm feel like I'm done with them, then I can move on to the next city and stuff like that. But like, because like the Valley's great and everything like that, and we have like an actual cool scene for comedy, but I feel like we need competition or just to see what other people are doing and kind of like experience it also.
Oh yeah.
So it might be fun. I'm probably not San Antonio or anything. Maybe Houston for a little while, and then after that, go to other states and see what's going on. Because I feel like I was talking to another comic who does. He does more shows. He travels. He's done festivals in other countries and Canada and Europe and stuff like that. And I was asking him, I was like, your jokes, like, do they work outside of America? Do they work outside of, or do you have to write specific ones? Because like, there's certain things that you can like, there's certain idioms and stuff like that that don't transfer over. So that those you might need to change, but like the root of the joke should be universal, right? That's kind of how I feel about most jokes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing with me. Like I want to go and try these bits out at different places, and like or just like come up with new material that is more universal and stuff like that. Because if it works on the East Coast, it should work on the West Coast. It should work in the Midwest.
And that's why I've always had this conversation with like different comics, and especially the ones that like we're coming up and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why I feel, and the best advice that I give to everybody is when you do your comedy. That's why I feel that you should always keep it coming, like the material coming from yourself, meaning that your personal life. You know what I'm saying? Like you, things that are from you, whether it be your family, yourself, something that you observe, and other people, but leave it at that. Don't go further than that. Like from that observation, like if that's a joke you observe from another person, let the punchline end with that other person, and like don't branch off. Like just go as far as that, and keep everything personal. And then the other thing that I tag to it is not unless you're as creative as Jerry Seinfeld, then you can kind of step in, because his comedy is universal as well, and his comedy is completely the opposite as well. His nothing about himself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's his observation of the world. But it's mostly just like it's his observation of the world, and was it incongruity of, or basically the just like the weird shit that we do, and like
exactly. But he makes it work because of the creativity that he puts behind it. So and I told everybody, not unless your creativity's on that level, the easiest and best thing that you can do is keep it personal, because it goes back to what you were saying. It goes back to that within itself is universal. Everybody has at one time shit their pants. I'm not saying write a bit about shitting your pants. I mean, if you can and you can pull it off, awesome. But I'm saying everybody's like shit their pants. Everybody's,
now we're giving me material. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. Like everybody shits their pants. Everybody went through a breakup. Everybody, like that material, like with you.
Yeah, it's more like open ended kind of stuff. Like
yeah, and that's what I feel that around the world, as long as there's not a huge language barrier, because back to what you're saying, I think the language barrier is where the word meaning and the word play and the definition may change, so maybe there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, so you try to be as stuff like that is a little harder, I guess. So like I'd seen some like European comics, and they're referencing like even just like referencing things is difficult, because if you're referencing just commercials or popular TV shows or anything like that, it's just it's a little easier for Americans, because a lot of our media and stuff gets transported everywhere.
Yeah.
So if we talk about Seinfeld's in syndication in 130 countries or something like that, or some stupid number. So if we talk about Seinfeld, people know who Seinfeld is in the Philippines and Cambodia and fucking everywhere.
It's funny how he says that because a couple years, this was years back. This was like 7 years ago. I was talking to a gentleman from Chile, and he was born, raised from Chile. He had lived his. He was 33 at the time, and he had lived his whole life in Chile. He was just in California visiting, right? So we were on this conversation, whatever, so on and so forth, and the conversation of Seinfeld came up. Oh, and I remember now. And it wasn't even a conversation. He was like, "Hey, man, like I gotta go, cause Seinfeld's about to come on, and I want to watch it." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then I turned around and I was like, "Fuck, you know about Seinfeld?" And he was like, "Man, yeah, man, I watch it all the time when I was at home." And I was like, "What?" So
Yeah,
yeah,
like if you look at memes and stuff like that, like memes from other countries and stuff like that, like every country has their own version of like just that kind of like, and memes are just jokes. Like they have a, well, not anymore. Like it's like more meta now. It's kind of like they're making fun of them. So it's weird, but like in the early days of memes or whatever, you had like a kind of like a set, almost image, and then it had like a setup, a punchline, and
Right.
or you would, and then like you had different media influencing that. So like in Mexico, you had different media influencing it, but it was the same thing. Like the underlying of it, it was a joke and stuff like that. So it's still there. Like it doesn't matter what source material you're using or anything like that. If the underlying of it is a joke, and jokes are always have kind of like the setup and the punchline, and then you play with it different ways. Like you might have like a tension or misdirection or whatever to kind of like disguise it or do whatever you need to do with the joke so that you can get there. But it's all the same. Like the different techniques that you use are universal. The joke is universal, just like toppings.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's kind of weird. Like, and then that's why I was talking to them. I was like, how do you know it's going to work in other countries and or like stuff like that. And then you get different perspectives and stuff like that. So that's what I was interested in to find out. Sometimes that just having a different perspective is funny to other people.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah. There was a great set. I want to say it was on Conan a while back. It was a German stand-up comic that was doing an English set. Clearly, it was on Conan about the word ass, and it's the most versatile word in the English language, and understanding that is the key to understanding like American English. It's like we have big ass, little ass, bitch ass. Like ass is the key to it all.
Yeah,
it's a fucking genius bit, man.
Yeah, it really is good. Who was that other guy? He's a really good writer, really good comic, but he has like the whole bit about like when he added like an apostrophe. What are they called? Connotations or it's been a little while since my grammar school days. Anyways, like he has a whole bit about that, like don't and can't and stuff like that, and he has a whole like it's a beautiful like 5-6 minute bit, and just like the way it's written is just so beautiful, and then like he ends it with like a double contraction. I think it's called contractions. Like a double contraction, like he like almost like a
like cannot,
like wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't, and then like y'all and stuff like that. Like those are just contractions. Like you're combining two words with an apostrophe. And he has like his whole bit is like him pretending to be the guy that came up with this whole idea, and like you can't tell me I can't do this. I invented can't. I
got you.
And then like it's a beautiful set. Like it. I wish I remembered the guy. He's one of these guys that's like beloved by comics because of his writing, but then like the mainstream just never
picked
really,
up on him.
Yeah, I never really appreciated him for who he is and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think it was Mark Norman that was talking about him. Like that set was kind of.
By
really
the way,
good.
I did remember the comic I was trying to mention earlier, which was Todd Barry, who I want to say a year or two ago did a tour of complete. It was all crowd work.
Todd Barry. Yeah, Todd Barry did the crowd work tour. I was thinking Todd Glass for some reason.
I think there's been a couple other comics that have done
that's
it.
an author.
Todd Glass.
No, that's the comic.
They're both comics.
Yeah.
Todd Barry is really
No. Todd Glass.
Great comic.
Yeah, Todd
a
Glass
comic.
is the one usually with.
Who's the author then? There's an author named, a real famous author with the last name Glass. And I get them confused all the time.
No clue.
Not sure.
Shit. Never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah, no, Todd Glass is great, man. I've seen a couple of videos of him now. I want to say it was even one of the clips was even on the documentary I Am Comic.
Yeah, he goes into, I think, talking about how a club should be set up.
That's where I was going with it. The setting up a room, getting the lighting right, setting the mood. You know, just the little candles on the table aren't there. They're not going to provide any light. They're merely there to provide the mood.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean?
You just have the one spotlight on the comic and backdrop.
When I was setting up some of those club shows, man, like trying to like figure out like, all right, how close do you put the tables? How do you arrange the seating and all that? A lot of it was kind of going like, am I getting too far up in my own head about this? Like, am I overthinking this shit? And then I'd see some clip like him or someone else talking about it and be like, nah, man, this shit's important. The
and then
ambiance and atmosphere.
Because it's important for the comic and it's important for the audience. They want to both feel like it's intimate.
Right.
And kind of, but you also want it to, protect the comic because you don't want anybody running on stage and trying to knife you or like that was another thing. Like you had when I was talking about comics that that you're kind of like almost ashamed to say that you enjoy. Like one of mine is John Caparillo. Yeah, like short, kind of guy, Italian, but he's Italian, but almost like country. It's weird. And I remember like watching some of his stand up and like even with a friend of mine who's like, really intelligent, really well read and stuff like that, kind of has an appreciation for satire and stuff like that. And even him, like he found him hysterical. Like I almost pissed myself watching one of his specials.
Right on.
And that's how you know it's really good, especially when you're at home watching it on TV. Like it's a lot different than when you're in the crowd. Because you're more likely to laugh if you're actually there and in the crowd. It's a lot easier to make the crowd laugh, I think, as opposed to if you're at home and by yourself. It's no one's in there influencing you.
Yeah.
They have the TV audience, but we've gone through enough mind-numbing studio audiences or just laugh tracks to be like, okay, I'm not influenced by you trying to tell me to laugh. So it's kind of and. I don't know. I have strong opinions about the whole. I'm glad that other people are directing things, like on comedy specials. Like, I got tired of seeing like the Comedy Central specials where they would have like a comic like, oh, I'm gonna make an Asian joke, and then they cut to like the Asian woman in the front. I was like, okay, just seeing them doesn't make me like, just like it's not racist. She laughed. Never mind the fact that was that we told her to laugh, and also that clip was from 10 minutes before they said that joke, and that's not her real reaction.
Yeah.
That's part of the check process. It's like go through, find all the ethnic faces in the front row.
Exactly. And like, this might be a gay couple. This might be an interracial couple and stuff like that. They're just checking all the ticks for like, make sure we don't offend anybody because they laughed at some point during the
same kind of people they have running the kiss cam at baseball games.
Oh yeah. It's just really, at least I feel like those are fake. Because I feel wrong taking a laugh and cutting it into a bit that it wasn't meant for that. That feels dishonest.
I get you, man.
But then that's editing, so.
True enough. A great example, I was having a conversation. I've had several conversations a while back about that show Disjointed on Netflix with Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
Not a bad. Still haven't seen the second season, but I did enjoy the first season. I watched the first episode by myself and completely forgot what the hell it was about, and just kind of went, not for me. And then a buddy of mine sat me down, and I watched through the entire first season. But part of what put me off the first episode was the laugh track on there, and I kind of got occasionally you got that it's satire type of feel from it, but for the most part, it was just like, this is unnecessary. You're trying to tell me where to laugh, and you have funny people on here. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
but yeah, man, occasionally it can be used to benefit. You can.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're really over the top with it, or you place it in the right time, things like that are just like visual or like those are things that you can only do with film and editing and stuff like that. Like Stephen Wright, like the director for the like he did the Simon Pegg movies.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright, there we go.
Yeah,
Stephen Wright is
Scott Pilgrim. And,
yeah. So he's really good with like doing setup and punchlines with just like visual editing and stuff like that, or even transitioning scenes and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, kind of to compare it to another English director, Guy Ritchie, who kind of lets the whole joke play out in one scene. I mean, or he'll have like one or two cuts as opposed to like Wright, which kind of follows you back and forth between,
Yeah. I mean, there's different ways that people do it and stuff like that. So
yeah.
It's kind of interesting when you get into like film and film and TV, especially when you're allowed to play with it and like different shots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Different angles can be funny as opposed to like just like a camera like shooting up from the bottom and stuff like that. But then you still have to like make sure it's not disjointing or anything for the TV viewers, because if you're like filming like from this angle and then you switch it up and then it kind of like throws you around, like you're supposed to be filming from like the fourth wall or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you change like the different angles, and you kind of throw them off.
Yeah, if we ever get to the point where we're using a multi-camera setup here, one of those things that's going to be like, did I leave the oven on type of scenario is, swapping the
over shoulder kind of back and forth.
Yeah, but mirroring was the word I was looking for. Yeah, it's like when you swap left and right on a shot, and it's like all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, that doesn't match up.
Yeah, it's kind of but I haven't looked too much into like the film and editing and stuff. But I do enjoy, like, because I feel like that's a lot of where my comedy came from. Growing up, is like I just watch a lot of sitcoms and stuff like that. So it's where a lot of my timing and jokes came. Well, not jokes, but yeah. Of my humor came from and stuff like that. Or like even TV and film, yeah, like you'd anything that made someone laugh and I didn't understand why, I was big into like trying to find out, the reason behind it. Like,
right.
The references that I didn't get that were like for people way older than me, or just like the kind of like.
I think that's one of the reasons I have such disdain for laugh tracks, is the idea of telling me where to laugh, because I already laugh at the parts that apparently I'm not supposed to laugh at.
Exactly.
So I don't need you confusing me, damn it. Yeah.
And I do like the ones like where someone laughs and it's like, is that because they're wrong, or is that because they said something that nobody else got?
Yeah.
And I want to know if like just that person's weird, or if that was just like a really inside baseball kind of joke that maybe one person in the audience might get.
Either that, or it's a scenario like you have a comic that in a crowd when you're doing a show and it's a bad set, and that you get that from the back, and you're like, I will talk to you after this is over.
It's like, thanks, Mom.
Oh, jeez, yeah. I'm glad that you're enjoying my pain. Well, shit, man. But you are working on new material, right?
Yeah, I mean, I want to. Right now, the set that I have, I feel really comfortable with. I haven't been using it a lot. I've been kind of like off and on. This last show that I did was not great.
Oh, you hosted, right?
I kind of hosted and like featured a little bit. I don't know how much time I did. I didn't record myself. So it was like a one-man show, but then I got to host and like kind of open for him. And it was a little weird. But I'd kind of like opened for him before. I did it in Corpus and in Laredo before. Just kind of like one-offs. Right. And it was basically the same set. I kind of added a little more or changed up some of the wording. And the set that I've been doing has been, really rocking. Like every time I've done it, I've gotten really good reaction. Just I forgot how our place can be sometimes. And it can really shake you to, like, almost shake you to where it's like, is this funny? It's like, I know I've done it like 10, 15, 20 times, and it's always killed. Just this one time, which is terrible. And Yeah, they really made me sweat, like literally.
I all sympathies, brother. I just came off a rough hosting gig from last night.
We did a show. I forgot what it was. Like we did a show at Cena, and it was like a large group. It wasn't like the. I don't think it was a competition or anything. It was just a really big crowd. It was almost the size of the competition that we do.
Okay.
But it was a large, like 150, 200 people or something like that. It was a big room.
Right.
And then we did and I did really well. And then we did the room that you were running at Avenue.
Right.
On like a Sunday or something like that.
Okay.
And I went up there and I did the same material and it just... And then you came up after me. It's like how quickly they fall. And I was like, "Yep, that's about right." It's just like, yeah, giveth and taketh away the comedy crowd.
As much as I don't want to be the comic on the other end of a comic's punchline, it is fun when you're the comic with the punchline.
Oh yeah, that's we kind of race
and
to it.
Just
catharsis.
Something to add to that is in that situation. Is where good crowd work comes in handy.
Yeah, I think
like when you start feeling that you're going like downhill and that you see that you're gonna continue going downhill, is just I've done it myself. So where I kind of find a way just to say one short phrase to
it's kind of like a parachute to kind of help you guide.
I was gonna say I think it's much more like an anchor. You're refocusing the audience. Back into the moment. You're not allowing them to go like, oh, should I check my phone? Or do I need another drink? It's like,
anchor for them, parachute for us.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
For me, it would have...
Parasailing, perhaps.
It was mostly to... it's because I was burning through material at an alarming rate, which was the issue for me. Because, like I have... Like the set that I do can last either between... 5 minutes if I'm going through it quick and I'm starting to actually no, it's like 8 or something, or most of the middle ground's between 10 and 12, and like if I'm having a good show and I'm fluffing and just having a good time, it could be like 15.
Remembering all your tags and
you're in the mood and you can fluff and kind of experiment and stuff like that. You get a good 15-20 minutes. So it's a weird range for the bits that I have. But yeah, that one was rough. I was pulling out old stuff, and it was the first time my brother or any family member had seen me. My brother was in from North Carolina, and he got to see me do stand-up. I invited a few other people, but kind of bad weather and poor planning, and we didn't get to go out. But that didn't help also. But he, like, after the show, like, he didn't say I was funny or anything. I got he says that it was, like, entertaining, but he did say that I had a good stage presence.
This was your brother?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
which is fine for me because like I handled it well, I guess, to where he's like, you were comfortable up there and you and I know my material's funny, so I'm not worried about that. But it was just kind of like, yeah, the audience wasn't the best for that one. But before I had a real problem with stage presence and speaking loudly and being up there.
It happens. A lot of people don't know yet, but I have a lot of stage fright.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I have crippling stage fright, and that is not.
Sorry.
Yeah, that is unfortunately not a pun for that, but it's true. I did a show. When was it? Earlier this year. We weren't doing this yet, right? No. In April.
Mm-hmm.
I think. We definitely weren't doing this.
Yeah, I don't
yet.
think you had started.
In April, I did a show at Clayton's.
Mm-hmm.
That was in Clayton's. My bad. I think it was Wana Wana.
I'm not.
So one of the clubs at the beach.
Okay, so you were at the island.
Yeah, one of the clubs at the beach. Yeah, it was in Clayton's. Clayton's was something else. But
was about to say, I've seen a couple people do one-man shows at Wana-Wanas, but it was usually unpaid for and unsolicited.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my ex-wife.
Yeah, exactly. No, like I did it. It was at.
Turn off the music. I brought my own guitar.
It was at the beach, and
Just for the show.
they had the stage. First of all, the stage was long, like literally long, right? And then they had the curtain, and there was a crowd. I want to say about 20 people. Maybe. I say 20 people because before I went, the 20 people were, I mean, it wasn't packed yet. So, but there was at least 20 people already there that I was going to perform in front of, right? And they were there for a comedy show because it was a comedy show. So, there was a curtain, there was a stage. I was behind the curtain, and then the host was about to bring me up. Right before I was about to walk out. I got really bad anxiety, and my the stage fright kicked in, but it kicked in like to the point where I was backstage and I couldn't move, like I couldn't move forward. And I just kept thinking in my head, I was like, don't do this shit now. Like, you need to go out there. Like, you need to go out there. You need to do this shit. Like, and I was like, and then it didn't help that the fucking people started cheering. And I was like, holy shit. Cause the dude was really hyping it up. You know what I mean? So, he actually called my name out to like walk out. And I still wasn't walking out, you know what I mean? So he was there, whatever, and then he even said, you know, our next performer, give him some time. It might take him some time to walk out here. And I was like, dude, you're not helping. So, point is that like the stage fright really got to me. So I was able to walk out, and this is my whole point to the story. I came around the corner, and I was walking down that. Oh, and the stool and the mic were right in the middle of the stage, and it was a long ass stage. So as I was walking out, that was from the curtain to where the mic was. That was the longest walk that I had ever done. Like it felt that way. Yeah. And then I stood in front of him, and I took a deep breath. I made sure that I didn't blow it out in the mic because it was very unprofessional. So I kind of blew it out sideways. And all I remember saying is, how y'all doing? And for whatever fucking reason, when I said, how y'all doing, they started laughing. And then I said that, I was like, well, that wasn't a punchline, but fucking thank you. And then that kind of like, kind of set me down. Yeah, and then I was able to like kick off my material.
Yeah, you're kind of nervous up until you get that first laugh, and then you feel.
But by the way, thank you, assholes. Y'all just gave me the start of a bit, or I don't know if y'all just gave me a punchline. I picked it up.
For what?
I will take a writing credit.
Yeah. No shit.
About the.
I have crippling anxiety.
It's crippling. which
How
I can't
have
give.
you not done that already?
Which to somebody else's credit, I can't give you all the credit.
Oh, you can give us all the credit.
Because Joe.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say God.
I remember Joe. Joe's a faithful watcher.
Like to thank Joe and God, but mostly Joe
of this podcast. He was the one that kind of brought it up first, and I thought about it, but I kind of put it aside.
Yeah, and so you kind of kicked it back into your head.
Yeah, and y'all just kind of kicked it back out. So right. I might go back and work on that.
Yeah, I mean, being nervous when you go out on stage. I mean, I don't get like the anxiety. I guess when I first started out, kind of, it was worse. But now I've done so much dumb shit on stage, to where like even a bad show isn't that bad or as cringy as some of the dumb shit that I've done. I did a show really well when I was drunk. once.
Me too.
Where it was like almost amazing. Like I'm sad that I don't remember it.
Yeah.
It was funny because
I remember it.
No,
I was drunk.
Well, I was tipsy and I was feeling good, and then apparently I was running long, and the host was Mark at the time, and he was enjoying the show, and he just let me run long, and then another younger comic that had started going out kind of did something shitty, but apparently I was just having a good time and I just rolled with it. But that happens. I wish I remembered what I was saying. Like, it just, all I remember is I remember one joke is I mixed, was it not Crown Royal, it was what's that rum?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you mixed the joke. I was like, what'd you mix it with?
It was Captain Morgan. I mixed Captain Morgan and Fanta. I call it a Tuesday night alone, and that's how I started off. And I just kind of rolled from there, and I was just fucking having a good time. I think that's yeah. I try not to drink before, or I'll take a shot maybe, but I try not to do anything to where
there is always that risk that you had fun, the audience
Exactly.
not so much. I've recorded a couple sets where I went back and listened, and I was like, it's like, again, I had a lot of fun,
Exactly.
but wasn't firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me. Like, especially like with the people that like that smoke and go up before. Like, I can't really do that because I feel like it throws off my timing, and like it's something that I notice when people would smoke. Like,
Right.
it is something that kind of like it's almost like a millisecond or something like that. But just like the beat is off, and for me, that's not something that I'm comfortable with.
But there's some people that really do perform.
Oh yeah, no,
great under the influence.
Yeah, that's definitely
right. But to do that consistently, you have to know the measurement.
Oh yeah, well, but then again, I'm sure that these people that did great, they're literally like everyday smokers. So
then their timing is adjusted.
Yeah, they know where.
Personally, man, one of my favorite is like get the cocktail right before you go on stage, and like get like a couple sips before you hit the stage, and so you can feel the alcohol kind of kicking into the bloodstream as you're up there doing your thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's
I'll take a shot like 5 minutes before I go up. And
the one that does that, the one that does that, and I've seen him even do it on stage is Bobby.
Oh yeah, but that's...
Bobby drinks at the table, on his way to the stage, on the stage, when he's off the stage. So
yeah.
Bobby's a public school teacher. That's what he does before he goes and teaches.
But to be fair, one of the best sets I ever saw Bobby do was he came in, like he basically hit the club right before he was about to go on stage and got the beer and started drinking on stage, and it loosened him up a little bit. He came in more with the nervous twitch and the anxiety.
Nervous, but then kind of like eased into it.
Yeah. Bobby's at home on stage, so I mean he mellows himself out anyway, but you could see the alcohol actually slowly kicking in, as opposed to hitting the stage with a warm buzz on, which again we've all done.
Depending on the person and the amount of alcohol.
Yeah, because I've noticed if I hit the stage with the warm buzz on, like I'm already in that. Oh, we're comfortable. It's like, no, jackass, you got to do the work first.
It's like
you must make them comfortable, and then you become comfortable.
But then that's why you have like a host and stuff like that.
True. I'm just saying, well, actually hosting even, man. I like to, again, hitting the stage with like it's already in the system. It's going to hit the bloodstream, but that process, you still have that moment of like, it's like taking a breath of air before you deep dive. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's do this. You know what I mean? So,
that's a good way to put it.
Using the nerves to your advantage almost.
Oh yeah, and I mean, depending on the person, like the audience might not be, you might be like, stone cold like face, and like the audience has no idea that you're having an anxiety attack underneath. But yeah, I mean, every performer is different. Nobody's like 100%. Well, I guess if you've been doing it long enough, but even then, like some people are still have that anxiety. I found that what helps with me is because I've noticed that I'm not anxious, or I'm anxious, but it's kind of like excited, to get up there. Anxiety kind of hits me more if I'm doing a new room or something, and I didn't have enough time to prepare, or if I had no time to prepare, it's almost better because I'm not so much in my head. Yeah. But for me, a lot of what helps me is I write my set out, like even though I know it, kind of. Like I'll still write it out, like beat for beat, like before the show, just so I know like exactly what I'm kind of doing. And if there's anything new, then I've written it out and I might remember it more. I have a tendency to kind of structure my jokes to where they lead into each other better. So like I try to have.
Damn, I thought that's what everybody did. I do that.
Yeah, no, I mean most people do, but I make a a set, like especially like if I'm adding something new, where I try to rework it right before the show to where it flows better.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
And then that way, like it
like to have that free floating one that you just kind of throw in between chunks.
Yeah, I mean that kind of throws it off. But as long as if I remember that it's kind of in there, or like if it's so like kind of out of it that it kind of reminds me that that's part of it,
right?
Then yeah, but that helps me remember, especially like you can kind of remember where you're going, so you don't forget as much. So it's like I remember, I'm going to start with the homeless. Again, it leads to the or I start with the military. It leads to the homeless. The homeless leads to the teacher. The teacher leads to this. And if you watch like what are those like memory Olympic kind of things? Like the people that remember like 140 places of pie, or they'll shuffle a deck of cards and then remember all 52 in like 10 minutes or something. They use memory mapping kind of things that like they create a story in their head.
I was going to ask, man, did we ever talk about did memory palaces ever come up in any of those conversations we ever had?
I'm sure we might have,
Okay.
but yeah, it's kind of like that. Not so much memory palace, but it's kind of like just create an absurd story in your head,
Right.
like with these like rudimentary kind of things, but like very visual kind of, especially since we do comedy. We're used to like we know how the mind's eye kind of works. You have to have something visual to where it affects people's memory. I was thinking like a smell. I wrote this down and I forgot. I didn't write it down right either. It was before a show. This lady walked past me and she had perfume on, and this perfume is one of those ones that always reminds me of like a preschool teacher. Like they always had the same perfume for me. Like all my teachers that like I vividly remember was the same perfume, and it's just like that's what a middle school teacher smells like. Like it's not bad. It's a certain perfume. It's sold by a company. I want to learn the name and stuff like that. And then you have like the flip side of that, like, and every stripper I've ever smelled has the same smell. It's like those are the two. Just a preschool teacher, and and it'd be really terrible if they got those flipped one day. Just like you go to like, it probably wouldn't affect the children. Maybe later in life, if they had like the body spray of a teacher, and then later in life, it's like you smell like my middle school teacher, and you're a stripper. Or the flip side, like you're at a strip club, and you smell like my elementary school teacher. This is a weird boner.
Yeah. Now the real trick is it's almost like the gold and blue black dress. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
depending on what the background is,
Exactly.
it's actually the same scent. Yeah.
You're not surrounded by 40 to 100 drunk dudes.
Yeah, it's just you add that whiff of cigarette and condom odor, and there it is.
That might actually just be what that is.
Well, shit, man. Glad to know the process is still working, man. For a while there, I'd talk to you at some of the open mics, and yep, this is what we're doing now. So, yeah, glad to know you're still thinking about things in a productive fashion.
Oh yeah, like I'm not gonna like off myself or anything, but even
wasn't making accusations.
I love that. Did you ever see the Conan tour thing that he did after
with his producer?
Well, he did like the show, like he went on tour before he had the show on TBS. Okay. Between it, he kind of went and did like a show making fun of NBC and stuff like that. They couldn't record the show because of legal problems, but they record like the back of it, like right. the behind the scenes kind of thing. And there was a part where they asked him like if he's ever thought about suicide, and he's like, no. And you can just tell like it's like what he meant to say was like not seriously, and just kind of like, oh, okay, I get
methods or motivation, which were.
It's like I've thought of like that semi is really close to me and it'd be a pretty good payout. I've thought of more like especially when I'm in like a shitty job. I think that's how I know when I want to quit. It's just like, yeah, traffic's a good cover if I wanted to. I could just say my wheel went out and just call in for a week. That got dark. We can cut that out. But I work in a call center now, so none of that.
Hey, little PSA to the audience listening. The moment you wake up and go, death might be more preferable, think about switching jobs.
Yeah, it's like it's
definitely.
That's what I don't talk about death on stage too much, but I'm hoping to. That seems like a hot potato kind of to deal with.
You already got the abortion jokes. It's just a little.
Yeah, but I don't think of those as death. I think of those as necessary taxes.
Maintenance, not mortuary. Yeah, okay.
I haven't done an abortion joke in a while. Plan B, but that's not the same. It's more like
all a matter of degrees with you. Shades of gray.
Shades of fetus. Yeah, we can cut out this last 5 minutes.
You wish.
Yeah, I do.
No, that's good material.
So just remember, if you don't say anything in the next 12 hours, it's no take backsies. Pay no attention to the fact that I have no watch on my wrist.
Yeah, no kidding. That actually reminds me of something. Something that you were talking about earlier when we first started talking. The whole call center thing is like you don't bitch about it. You don't bitch at them or anything like that. But you also want someone that speaks English. But that's for me. I've kind of done the opposite. Like I won't bitch at them, but I know exactly how it'll hurt them. So I don't like talk. Like I just get really quiet, and I leave like dead air for a long time, and then they'll say something. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm still here," and I'll go quiet again. I was like, "Oh no, I'm just ruining your call time." Like that's I'm just being really passive aggressive because I know how this works.
It's like micro solitary confinement.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I know you can't hang up on me, and if you do, you get in trouble. So I'm just gonna be really quiet, and every once in a while, I'll break silence, and I'm just being an asshole. Yeah.
That works. Depending on who you're talking to, because then there's some people that don't give a fuck and will release the calling.
Oh yeah, I mean that's cool too. But that's at least like I found someone who's like, okay, well then, yeah, then I didn't want to deal with that person.
Yeah.
I mean I don't do it to people who are cool. It's like I don't start off that way. It's more like if they tell me something and I know they're lying, or like you can kind of tell when people are lying. Over the phone, it's a little easier because some people are just really bad at it. I got into an accident once, or I was in an accident. Someone hit me from behind at a red light. It was really shitty. Like I was center lane, 3 lanes, red light, bulldozed me across the red light. I was like, okay, well, you had 3 lanes to pick from. And I was at that red light for a while. I was the only car. You could have just not.
You look like a soft target.
No shit. And my car was just like totaled because it was cheap, and his car was royally fucked because good. This whole engine dropped. It was great. But anyways, so later, like I get a lawyer to kind of deal with the whole because I don't want to deal with it. And I let them deal with the process, and I meet with their paralegals or whatever. And there was a woman and a guy, and then we're going over like what the plan is, and they ask me what insurance that person had, and I tell them, and you kind of like a visual like facial cue that the guy made was kind of like, oh fuck, it was like one of these guys is like, let's play poker, like you are terrible, like, and you're a paralegal or you work in a law firm, you should not be here, like unless you're really good at paperwork, do not ever go in front of a court or like need to bend the truth for me. And I felt like telling like secretary or the other paralegals like I don't want him because he's not like if you do need to like I'm not saying lie for me, but if you do need to, he's not capable of it, and I don't want that. I want more money. I don't know.
I trust your legal mind, but your capability of lying for me in front of other people, not so much. Okay.
I want Saul Goodman. I want I don't want you to lie for me. I want you to be able to lie for me if you need to.
If I don't believe that you can run with a busted flush, then
I haven't seen the show.
Huh?
I haven't seen the show.
No, that was a poker reference.
Yeah.
Oh, busted flush. It sounds like something that would happen in Better Call Saul.
I still haven't sat down to watch it.
I saw the first.
It's pretty good.
I've heard.
I hear it's pretty good. I saw the first few episodes. And
It's good. I'm waiting for season 4.
Yeah, see it's kind of the same thing that happened to me with Breaking Bad. Like I heard it was good. I watched like maybe the first episode and stuff like that, and then I just didn't watch it.
Oh, dude, that's a huge.
I've watched it since.
Oh, I
but
was
it's
like,
kind of
that's a huge. If you stopped at first of all, with the first episode, it should have been what kept you going.
No,
Like,
yeah, it was good.
And
It's just like
I
never
tell
found time.
people, take it from me because I'm not like a series or sitcom type of like. It takes a lot for like a series to really grab my attention. Like for example, after Breaking Bad was over, the only other two that I really got into and I'm still into now because they're still on air is Ballers on HBO and Billions. Billions is awesome on Showtime. Billions is basically, and of course it's true, but they're not gonna tell you. But it's basically, it shows you the really inner workings of somebody in like a big player in Wall Street,
Okay.
and how they really fuck you over, like explicitly, really how they fuck the everybody, basically the taxpayer and everybody else over. And then the I don't want to say the climax, but the other side of the premise of the show is you got the DA going after this guy, and basically he can never catch him dirty. He can never formally catch him dirty. And what makes it great is that the whole world knows that he's dirty, kind of like Al Capone.
Oh yeah.
Like the whole world knew he was dirty, they just couldn't get him. And that's basically where the show. They're
Got
now
him with the syphilis though. Haha.
they're now about to do the 4th season, do the 3 seasons, because I watched it from episode 1. It's fucking good.
Yeah, I usually like to wait for, like, it sounds bad and like I might be the reason that some shows get I mean, not me specifically, but people like me. Like I like a conclusion. Like I prefer it if shows had like they get signed and like you get 3 seasons with the option to like after the 2nd season we'll know whether you get a 3rd or 4th, but be able to wrap it up at a 3rd or a 4th. I'd rather shows like that than these
Wait,
ones.
hold on, you lost me.
I don't like starting shows that have no ending.
But they will.
Yeah, not all shows though, because like if you see the
Well, I mean, the only exception that I see is the fucking Simpsons, but
no, I mean not like that. I mean like I don't like shows being canceled.
oh, but that's different though.
Yeah,
Like when shows get canceled, they get canceled because somebody fucked up.
yeah, or just yeah,
Or the show just it wasn't good enough.
yeah.
But that falls back on ratings and the writers and shit.
Well, you mean
like
you can
that.
have really good shows like Arrested Development was canceled and it was a really good show by all accounts.
Right.
And same thing with what is People of Earth was canceled recently.
I never watched that. So
Yeah, so I mean that's like I liked the show and stuff like that. It was greenlit for a 3rd season and then they took it away and it's like, okay, well, fuck. So I mean I kind of don't like getting blue balled on stuff like that. So that's why I prefer, like, I like Netflix's kind of plan where they, they'll roll out a season in one day and then they'll know they kind of have a good metric of people, like if you lose interest like in your binge watching.
But you also got to think about that Netflix is also, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I agree with what you're saying, but you also got to remember that Netflix is also self-sustained in a way. So basically, Netflix answers to Netflix.
Yeah.
ABC answers to ABC, and they answer to everybody else in their
Yeah,
mouth.
ABC, the executives,
Yeah.
the
So
fucking
that's the
Disney.
problem. Like that's the problem that you have with those shows. That's why I don't understand why people are still so adamant to shopping their show to like ABC and NBC. Like other than the apparent prime time spot and
or more money and
viewership,
stuff like that.
like I get
They
it.
get more capital, I think, too.
No, not nowadays. You really don't. Nowadays, that's why Netflix is actually that's why they're kicking ass because in recent numbers, and I mean very recent, like 2015 and shit, they've shown with metrics and numbers that Netflix tends to offer more, and they also give you more freedom and more longevity.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're really kicking ass.
but like you have that issue with like shows on Showtime and stuff like that. Like, I don't think they could do like Lord of the Ring or not the Lord of the Rings, like Game of Thrones on Netflix because of. I mean, they probably could, but I think it's better where it is, just because of like the capital and stuff like that, and like the pool that they have and the actual like quality that they can produce.
Yeah.
So you do run into issues like that, but you have like just like sitcoms and stuff like that you run into issues just like on normal, broadcast TV, and they're kind of going for like syndication.
I'm the one that keeps saying, man, that pretty soon, like your regular cable TV and your regular sitcoms and shit, like on NBC and all that shit, they're gonna go obsolete. Like they're gonna.
Well, I wish
that's already a possibility, man.
Because
some of the stuff YouTube is doing that they're putting production money behind is
the reason
really
that I'm
good.
saying the reason that I'm saying is because
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai is a great example, but they've got a sci-fi show coming out that I'm interested to see how it does. I mean, they're trying to get a few big name. They've got the blonde kid from Harry Potter, the Slytherin little.
Oh, you mean yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, they've got him running a lead on the show, and it looks like a straight up like old school sci-fi, people stuck in a tin can type of space show.
Nice.
But it's one of those where clearly, if you don't put a little bit of production into it, it's going to look cheesy as fuck. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But the production costs are going down on a lot of stuff. Not only that, but there's
because everybody can now shoot a fucking movie on their phone.
Right, but all right, take The Expanse, which was being backed by Sci-Fi and I think a UK producer as well, and they kind of went, we got our money back, and we don't like because it was getting a little more expensive to do the special effects and all that for them because they were getting into these massive space battles and all that shit. Mm-hmm. And they were like, we're going to cancel it. And Amazon was like, fuck it, we'll take it, man. We'll
Did they pick it up on Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, stuff like that. Like I'd appreciate that more. Like if there's a good following and someone feels like they can pick it up to where they don't get like, just no, we own the IP and then fuck you. Like I'd much rather have, because like you see that a lot with like British shows. Like you'll get 3 or 4 seasons. And then that'll be the conclusion.
But I also do get
they
where
do a little bit better job of closing it off at the end of the season.
Yeah,
like whatever story they don't leave like that. That irritates the shit out of me when you get these shows where they don't necessarily have an end point in mind, and you get that weird little
fucking smoke monster.
Yeah, cliffhangers at the end of the fucking season, going like, "What the fuck, man? I know you gotta tease.
Yeah, you gotta make me interested.
The
money
for next
season,
people, but come on, man."
Like, yeah.
The only one that I
the old Matrix scenario where they set up a beautiful fucking like all these little elements that could go together so well, and it's like, you're just gonna have to trust us. Give us your money next time. Fuck you, man.
The only one that I felt a certain kind of way when it was canceled because like it was actually good was the Carmichael show. When they can and I get why they canceled it. They canceled it because of that one episode that supposedly promoted the fucking not only violence, but it was one thing. I don't remember if it was
Carmichael show.
Yeah, it was violence. It was because they felt that it promoted violence and three things now that I remember. They were saying that it promoted violence and it made fun of September 11th, and I think it promoted rape. I'm not saying that that's exactly what that episode did
or meant to do,
but that's what they were saying. Like NBC,
that's what they perceived.
Yeah, NBC. That's what they perceived, and they didn't want that kind of.
What was the Carmichael show?
It was Gerard's show, with it was him, and he had a little Rel on there, and he had a fucking Sinbad, and he had pretty good people. Like he had, I think even Megan Good was on there.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, but I'll pick up a sitcom or something. And
Well,
kind of
I started watching that one because of him, and because he's pretty funny. Like
he's
think
funny.
I think he's funny. So and again, surprisingly, me out of all people should be like because like with me, you really need to catch my attention for me to continue watching some shit. And it was good. I mean, it wasn't hilarious. It wasn't like no fucking vintage The Fresh Prince and shit, and I mean times were different back then, but I mean that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it was good.
Yeah, shows don't have to do as well as they did back in the day anymore. You can definitely have like a middle of the road kind of show, and it'll last a lot longer than it used to because of all the options.
And that's the other thing that I was going to say.
It also plays to the idea of you could do a very niche type of show, and if you have at least enough of an audience, they'll back you, not just during the runtime of the show, but they'll pick it up on DVD, they'll buy it on demand, they will support you.
I mean, I say all this, but I watch anime too, and you don't ever get resolution on that shit. So,
oh yeah, well, anime is a great example of they'll do the first season, and then they'll be like, "Come on, numbers!" Like
sell those DVDs and those,
yeah. You have to wait. You have to wait damn near 72 months to get.
But now even Netflix is buying that shit too.
Well, yeah, which is cool.
Like,
I mean, what's Crunchyroll and stuff like that doing their own
famous one that I don't even watch that shit, and I knew about it.
Attack on Titan.
Yeah. No.
Well, I mean that one's kind of like a.
I've never seen it, but I'm just telling you that even that. Like, it was like, hey, they're talking about that. And then I was like, anime. I was like, not really my thing. But then I saw that Netflix purchased it. And I was like, well, I guess it must be good.
Yeah, I mean, as far as them purchasing it, that's cool and all. But I think a lot of anime is a little weird because they have, like, really small, like, the animators and stuff, like, all work in, like, Tokyo and shit like that. So, like, there's only, like, a handful of, places actually developing and doing that. So you can buy the IP and stuff like that, but then you still have, like, this, like, oh, yeah, well, everybody's working on another project. You can't get anyone to animate at the quality that you need it for until, the next year or whatever. So that's why a lot of these get, like, fucking year or two in between shows, unless they're one of the big ones, like, Attack on Titan or whatever, who will be, like, or Dragon Ball or whatever, these are going to bring in the numbers. These are going to sell the merchandise. These are going to be the ones that we're going to be pumping out.
Yeah.
And these fucking, even like the guys that, produce the source material, usually they're like the ones writing the whatever or like drawing it or whatever. These fuckers will like put it out weekly. Like they'll put out a chapter weekly and then they have to get so many chapters ahead before like the content can be produced for the actual show. Because otherwise they'll burn through material and then you end up with like a bunch of like random bullshit episodes that aren't related to source material. They're not canon or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a weird dynamic for that kind of stuff. But yeah, sometimes you don't end up with a resolution, or you end up with one that's kind of feels like unsatisfactory. Like if you look at the what is it? The Full Metal Alchemist was a big one in junior high and stuff for me. Like if you watched what was being shown in American TV and stuff like that, it was like a version of it that had a run and end time, but they kind of started it at a point where the source material, the one that was being written, wasn't done. So they kind of just like fluffed and made up their own ending, and people were just like, "Oh, okay, well, okay, whatever." And then they did the show again, which is a little weird, but they did it again, and they used all the source material that was, the written source material was done, so they knew how the show was supposed to end based on the person that was writing it.
Yeah.
So they were able to do more content. They didn't have to do like so much fluff, and like different stories went different ways than what they kind of made up and stuff like that. So you ended up with a much better product.
Well, it's what they did a few years back with Dragon Ball Z. They
they did that.
It's like GT didn't happen, and here's what Toriyama wants to do.
Oh yeah, and then even like if you look at shows like Hunter x Hunter, which is I really enjoy the show, but it's like the guy that writes it is kind of I'll write when I want to write, bitch. But it's and the show's been it was made into an anime in like the 90s and then redone in like 2012 or something like that, and then even then they didn't have a lot of more chapters to add on, but they had enough to where they could end the main story.
Well, that was kind of some of the crazy stuff about, say, the Marvel movies when they started making the X-Men movies back in '99 and 2000 or 2001, whenever it was the first one came out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that has now been depicted in the movies wasn't even in the comics yet. So, I mean,
you like the
Civil War and some of the storylines evolved around that. None of that had even taken place. I mean, granted, that was long before the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of
was a thing, especially since it was on Fox with the X-Men thing.
Yeah,
but you also had the
but when you think about Professor X, you're still thinking about Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's kind of perfect for that. Both, I think, the Magneto and they had a lot of good casting in early. Like James Jameson and Superman. And
just having this conversation the other day. Look, Bryan Singer might be a piece of shit. Very open to that possibility, but damn it, the second X-Men movie was fucking great.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I even enjoyed the Superman shit he did. Superman Returns.
Yeah, that one wasn't bad either.
And Kevin Spacey's in that one too. God damn it. Can't catch a break.
I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, you run into... I mean, yeah, so I was going to say, like... Yeah, so a lot of the source material, like if you watch Logan's based off like a comic, like a dystopian kind of future. It's called Old Man Logan. Right. They didn't use like as much... like the world is going to shit. He's fighting like, the Hulk... like Hulk children and stuff.
Was it X-23, the Laura character? That I want to say that was in early 2000s.
Yeah, that might have been like a Uncanny or something like that.
They kind of like melded those together, and I think
she was like a combination of X-23 and like the Hulk baby that he kind of adopts. If you read Old Man Logan,
something like that, yeah.
If you get a chance, read Old Man Logan. It was fucking.
They dark. Left out her crazy psychotic twin sister.
Oh, from X-23?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
She's got one claw.
And just a middle finger.
Have you seen the deleted clip from... we're going off on a total tangent here, but the deleted clip from Deadpool where he goes back to kill baby Hitler?
No, I haven't.
He's like, I can't do it, and he ends up changing his diaper.
Yeah, that sounds
right. It sounds correct.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I haven't even seen the second one. I was meaning to.
I had a friend kind of pull me aside the other day and was like, did you like it? I was like, yeah, I enjoyed it. He was like, I don't know if I should like it. And I was,
it's like, you do you, man.
Yeah.
Like I had that feeling with like Incredibles 2, like that was a big thing. Like I enjoyed the first one thoroughly, and I was like I watched it in theaters when I was younger, and I was thoroughly excited when they were going to do another one. Pixar being the epitome of blue balls. Like they'll get to it, but it's like edging basically. It's like, we're gonna let you do it, we're gonna get you there, but it's gonna take some time.
My money is firmly on Toy Story 4.
Oh yeah, before you got to get in there before any of the people die.
My grandkids will enjoy it.
Yeah, no shit. This time with a girl character.
They'll have to digitally recreate Tom Hanks and what's his name, Tim Allen.
Tim Allen. Jesus, it's weird to think that Home Improvement ended before I think Toy Story started.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Let's see,
Before?
Yeah, I think he started production, or it was right on the cusp of, or like the like kind of towards the end of that run of that show. Because I think it was only like 4 or 5 seasons or something.
Possibly. Let's just all agree
Maybe
that
6.
nobody remembers Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah, no shit. Like he kind of was like the heartthrob of the early '90s, and then
I'm not kidding. I've seen a shitload of videos with clips from The Lion King, or somebody will mention The Lion King, and unless it gets down to it where you're going like, no him, it's like, never even remember that dude was the main character.
oh, was he?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, yeah, man.
Was he the young version of it, or because I always thought it was Matthew Broderick?
You're right. I think Broderick was the adult Simba, and Jonathan Taylor Thomas was the young.
Yeah, the iconic
cub.
Yeah, wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always remembered as Matthew Broderick as the older voice, because I mean he was the
Well,
main.
just goes to show I don't remember Matthew Broderick either.
Yeah, no shit. Who really does though?
Didn't he kill a woman with his car?
Yes.
Who cares?
Not that it matters.
She was Irish. Who gives a shit?
What else was he in? He was Ferris Bueller, wasn't he?
It was Ferris Bueller. He was actually, going back to the conversation earlier, I saw he did a mini series for Sci-Fi a couple years, maybe 2015 or so. That was really, like, by the time I got to it was maybe 8 episodes. By the time I got to the last episode, I was like, man, I want another season of this, but at least you gave me a resolution. So
Yeah.
happy for small victories, I guess.
I like the whole that ending to Deadpool at the first one, like the after credits, that he kind of comes out and breaks the fourth wall, and he's talking about it.
Okay.
He's like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do that. Like, Cable's in the next one. That's all you get, or something like that."
Yeah.
But he's in his bathrobe, and it has like it looks. He's in a bathrobe, and the whole scene is very It was familiar for me, and then I didn't get it until like the end of it, and they do the noise like, which is like the
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, exactly. It's the theme song from Ferris Bueller, and like the whole thing didn't make sense to me. I was like, why isn't he in his bathroom? Why is he doing this? And then that noise hits, and I was like, oh fuck, that was beautiful. That was like a fourth wall break, like recreating a fourth wall break movie, and I was like, yeah, fuck you guys, that was good.
Yeah, man. I'm assuming you Ready Player One.
Yeah, I think we talked about this.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Spielberg done Spielberg the fuck out of that movie, but the idea that they took out the whole where he has to play out the movie. I don't think it was Ferris Bueller. I think it was
the War Games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Line by line, like that was. Come on, man.
Yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
there was a couple different things like
It was just a shame that the set pieces were kind of already there. I thought Klein did a real good job of setting up these scenarios that would have, I think, would have looked
played
good
well on TV,
visually, and I get it. I fucking get it. And the fact that like there are those interviews with Klein, like he was involved with the production, so he's going like, no, it's great. And you're going, you got paid,
fucking
didn't
liar.
you, son?
I even like the if you read into some of the I don't know where it was. I think it was a Reddit thread or something like that, and someone kind of did a
Are we going to talk about the Illuminati conspiracies?
No, just no, I'm not a QAnon or something like that. But it was someone wrote like a add-on thing to why the main guy was such a dick and why he was so out to get try to buy it and shut it down, or they wrote it as he wanted to get it, and then like he's pushing it as like we're gonna take over and make a lot of money, but what he really wanted to do was take over and shut it down. And then they kind of had like backstory that his sister was really into it, and she overdosed, and like she died, and it was really sad, and like that's kind of like his origin story for it. And it kind of fleshes out the character a little bit more, and it kind of gives you some more like because normally you're just like, why is this guy an asshole? Why is he killing like?
Well, that was the thing. Even in the movie, they tried to give him like, oh, the guy was, off-putting once to him when he got him some coffee. It's like,
oh yeah, that he kind of just had.
Whereas the character in the book read perfectly well, slightly, fucking on the spectrum, business-minded.
Yeah, just an asshole.
Not necessarily highly intelligent, but highly
motivated.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very. And I liked it especially because he kind of shit on like, places that I work, maybe kind of shitted on stuff like that, and how they're kind of greedy and they're trying to get their hands on certain things, and like it had a little bit of a political tend to it. But yeah, they took all that out probably because of money.
Possibly. Well, here's the
how many Oculuses and Vives could they shove in there?
The catch-22 was, I don't think that if Spielberg hadn't been at the head of, I think if Spielberg hadn't been at the head of that film, they may not have been able to get the licenses that they did for some of those references.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is, if it hadn't been Spielberg, they didn't use the ones that they couldn't get the references for. I mean, to be honest, man, a lot of that stuff they could have just made up details. And that was the thing they forgot. It wasn't the nostalgia itself that was important. It was the concept of the nostalgia. Like, you don't have to get all the references to old Atari games and Monty Python movies. It's like, as long as you know that geek in real life and you can kind of, you've seen them get excited about things that just confuse the shit out of you.
Exactly.
That's what it was about. And I mean, it's if anything, I understand the.
It was basically just like what if the real world turned into Comic-Con?
A little bit.
Yeah, but just with shit that blows up.
Well, I was having this conversation with my my buddy Rick Trevino that was in here. We were talking about the concept of AR and VR being incorporated into daily life, and if the way I tend to set up my space as far as like, what do I put on the wall, where do I put the furniture and all that, it's usually very sparse and utilitarian. Like, can I reach things? Is this manageable? Can I move this? Can I clean this? That kind of stuff. But I was telling him, like, look, I don't hang much artwork up on the walls, but if I had like an AR type of system, augmented reality, I'd have, there'd be paintings, you'd walk into my room and sync up with the system and there'd be paintings up on the wall and maybe something outside the window and yada, yada. And it's like that, as opposed to the dystopian kind of, the real world goes to shit, so we retreat back into our video games and our virtual spaces. Rather than that, I'd like to see something moving a little more towards the augmented spectrum, where things are like, I know people who spend a lot of time and effort making their living room look very so pretty and nice, and it's like, okay, but then you have to clean all this shit. Then you have to maintain this stuff. Whereas if it was just kind of the you mentioned
you're just perceiving it.
Yeah, you mentioned the Oculus earlier. They've got a little the kind of single player desktop space is this empty room that you can design and put furniture in and put all these little toys around to play with in the virtual space. And it's great, man. I think actually Facebook is probably going to be something like that in the future. I mean, they own Oculus. But what it's going to be is you're going to walk into a room and it's almost going to be a more in the flavor of MySpace, where, it's like you get to design the background, you get to put a soundtrack in there and that kind of stuff. You're going to walk in and you're going to go, oh, I know who this person is. And then on the flip side, you walk in and the room's completely empty and you go, are you a hooker or a psychopath?
Now they just forgot to add a comma and now their code's broken.
Look, I'm just saying, there was a time in my early 20s where getting poked by call girls on a daily basis would have sounded fascinating, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, I don't think anybody pokes anybody anymore.
Except for call girls.
Really?
I get fake accounts every day.
Oh, yeah. Actually, now that you mentioned it, I got poked recently. Like, that's what I was thinking about. I was like, this fake account just poked me. Like, that's obviously a warning.
The name is Gabby. The picture looks like something out of a fashion magazine. And then when you scroll farther down, it turns out to be like some Malaysian high schooler or something. You're like, what the fuck? Why is this in Arabic all of a sudden?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, but I feel like that's just where we are at this point. Like, you add people on that aren't mature enough for. Like, I feel like that. Like, because my mom has a Facebook, and I'm like, I don't think you're mature enough to be on Facebook. Like, not as like as an adult. Like, she's mature and she's like, she's a person.
Right.
But like, as far because like we grew up with the net, like online, so
Yeah.
we're more like our digital self is more mature than their digital self.
Very true.
So it's a bit weird. Like, I know if I look at that website, that's a fucking virus. Don't go in there. that is a dark alley in this online world. You have no problem going there and then sharing it on Facebook and then putting it on your phone, and then like I'm really aware of shit like that. Like
there's a great a talk given by Terrence McKenna, and he was talking about the experiments with ketamine, some of the early psychological experiments with ketamine. And the way he described it, he had this whole belief about the kind of the connective memory of human beings. And like one of the reasons that when people do ayahuasca, they see leopards is because, people have been doing ayahuasca for thousands of years in the jungle and they see leopards and hear, that kind of shit.
Or you do mushrooms or DMT and you see the elves, construction sort of the.
Yeah. Okay. Well, his thing with ketamine was when you do it, he described it as an empty office building. It's like there's a lot of space, there's a lot of potential, but not a lot of people have done this. So you're in the empty space. There's no set definition of how this experience should go. Right. And, where was I going with this? Fuck, what were you just talking about?
The elves.
Before that. Shit, it was right there, man. But that idea of going into a new space and like not having the internet, man.
Oh yeah.
When we were kids, man, the internet was kind of like that. It was this empty building that didn't have any kind of defined space, and
it was kind of also like your only outside world, if you really think about it. Because back when we were kids, I don't know how old you are exactly, but
25, 26.
You're there, I guess, borderline, but like
you guys had a different version of the internet
maybe
than I did.
Because
even when you were a kid, because my understanding was you got into it pretty young, right? Like you jumped on in the early 2000s, perhaps.
Yeah.
Things were just kind of starting to get structuralized, but it was still a bit of a wild man's.
I can gauge this like this. Were you ever in a chat room?
Yeah, but I still do chat rooms.
See, no, he doesn't get it. No, I'm talking about... Okay, let me rephrase the question like this.
I mean, I didn't do any, BB boards or anything like that.
I don't even know what the fuck that is. But were you ever in a Yahoo chat room?
No. I think I had MSN or AOL.
Yeah. That's...
I did put a fucking CD in there that had a countdown on it. Like a fucking time bomb.
Nice.
I played video games that came with my fucking Captain Crunch. Actually, I played the shit out of it. I'm not gonna lie. There was a video game that came with a cereal box, and I played the shit out of that for a number of years. I was like, this is way more entertaining than it should be. It's kind of like a...
No, that's how I gauge it, because that's when I tell people, you don't know what shitty internet was like.
Oh no, I mean we still grew up.
When I was using it, like that was like the chat room was our Facebook.
Yeah,
and like you literally had Sean knows what the fuck I'm talking about. It was like
yeah.
And the only thing that you could
chat rooms, fucking,
the only thing you could depend on was like pictures. That's it.
Yeah, and even then that's why a lot of it was shot.
And if you
Dude,
were,
well, think about this. In comparison to now, when people respond with memes on a regular basis, that's just a thing that we do now. Back in the day, if somebody tried to post a meme to a forum, like a message board or something, you'd be like, "Motherfucker," because it's going to take forever to load.
I mean, that was a big joke back in the day. Was sending like a trans woman. It would take forever to load. And, you get the face and then the breast and then the penis, and that was the joke. Like, it would take forever to load, and it was kind of like, oh, well, fuck.
Now you have to send it as a GIF to pull off the same.
Oh yeah, they gotta.
Yeah.
it's funny. Yeah, man. But those Yahoo, I remember, man, because when I was a kid, must have been like, I don't think I've ever admitted this openly, but I must have been like 10, dude, like 10 or 11, and I used to get on those I used to get in those chat rooms.
Club Penguin.
Cause I used to ask other women for naked pictures and shit. I was always like into the boob thing. Oh, well, I mean, Sean knows why, but it's a whole story within itself. But yeah, I was always like,
hey, man, there used to be a young innocent time when seeing somebody's titty who you might actually see in real life was a fascinating and wondrous thing.
Yeah, until you fucking look at their profile that only has 3 fucking spaces that they can fill, which is their name, their last name, if they want to, and their location. And you click on that shit, New York. Fuck, I'm never fucking going to New York.
Or even if it's Texas and you were like a child.
Yeah,
at the time,
exactly.
Like, I won't pretend to speak for either of you, but if Tinder had been around in my early 20s, I would have so much syphilis. So much syphilis.
I don't think it's a quantity kind of thing. Kind of.
That's not how that works.
No, I think it's just a one and done.
Like a punch card.
Yeah.
And I can actually admit to this too, and I'm probably gonna be the one that sounds weird, but I think I'm probably the only one at my age, and I'm 31. Yeah, I'm 31. That I've never been on Tinder. Ever.
Oh, I've
like
been on
I don't
Tinder,
even
but
know.
very briefly.
I don't even know what it look like. I know what the
The format is. Yeah,
no
the swipe.
no no, not even that. What the logo looks like, but other than like what it is, I know what it is, but like that I've seen anything else other than the logo, I've never.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different versions.
But
of it
everybody
now.
says that, like, dude, you can fuck left and left. I have a friend that's on that, like, fucking, like, every day.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, dude, you can fuck left and right, literally. And I was like, okay,
I mean,
right
you could
on,
do that
bro.
before.
So, huh?
Yeah, just kind of like the whole back to the comedy kind of thing, like a bigger audience just means more laughs. Not exactly that, same. You're not gonna get just a bigger. When all you have to do is swipe left or right, it kind of just automates the process.
Quantity over quality.
Exactly.
Or, yeah, quantity over quality.
So, but is it like it's a sex site?
No,
Like
well, I
people
mean,
get-
it's not. They can't explicitly say that, otherwise they'll get shut down. But it's more of
Well,
you
I'm
don't pay
saying
for
that.
anything, but it's a
No, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, it's like, you know how, well, again, back in the day, there was also these sites that you could literally become a member on, but everybody knew that, everybody was there just for sex, basically. And
yeah, it's the internet.
So,
That's what the internet was. It
So-
was originally made for
military secrets and titty pics.
it was military secrets, and then doctorate or like professor sharing documents, and then come.
but I'm
So here's my newest research paper. Ooh, and some bush.
TNA.
Ha ha ha.
But I'm not gonna lie, man. And again, I've never shared this story before, and I think this is a good time to fucking share it, because the world will listen to it at some point. Back to the chat rooms. I met. I was 15. I still remember, and I started talking to a woman that will forever remain nameless, because she probably can have access to this somewhere, maybe. So and she was a woman, like she was of older age. I was 15, and I think at the time she was 37 or some shit, right? And we started talking. Long story short is that I convinced her, because all you could do was chat back then. I convinced her to keep talking to me, right? So I continued talking to this lady, and I continued talking to her up until like 2010. 2010 was the last time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? And
that's where that started. A lot of people have done that though, like, but not necessarily women or whatever, but people just made friends and like I know
well, yeah, but do you know anybody that you've known for 15 years and she showed you her tits and her cooch? And...
I do know.
See how he's
no, I know at least 2 couples that ended up getting married from long distance relationships started in chat rooms.
Video games. I know someone that was married and stuff. Like that.
I know one couple now that they're getting married in December, and they met on the PlayStation Network.
Yeah, that's the same with me.
Fucking A.
I was their best man.
Huh?
Well, like I knew one of them, and
you were the best man they could find.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Such a shotgun.
No, but that lady, and I think about it now. Like I
bet
really,
you do.
I really started thinking about it. Dude, she was hot. I really started thinking about it now, and like it hits me every time.
Well, 2010
like from the,
almost a decade ago at this point.
From no, but from the time I was 15, I was 15 in
2000.
No.
2000.
You sure?
Wouldn't it be?
My math is not good.
2002 maybe.
1?
Maybe, yeah.
2001.
So around that time, yeah.
Okay.
So like fucking 2010, and when we started talking, like I still remember, like we started talking, like it was a daily thing, and then I do remember that in some portions we lost touch for like months, and I think even one time, we lost touch for like a year, and then somehow I ended up that time I don't remember how I ended up like finding her again or whatever.
I mean, yeah.
I was going somewhere with this. Like, there was a point.
Were you?
Huh?
I'm just fucking with you.
There was a point to my story. But anyway, what I'm saying is that, like, it's crazy how, first of all, how, like, technology evolved. And not only did it evolve, but we went from a fucking chat room to, like, now people touching other people's penises virtually and shit.
Well, yeah,
Y'all seen that, right?
Or you have like you have like YouTube, which is like voyeurism, basically. You just well, not all.
Yeah,
of it.
like
Some
the
of it
people watching us right now.
Exactly.
Well, not watching us now, but
well, I mean,
that will watch us eventually
in the future.
For the
I'm saying because this is not live. I'm saying this will be. This is
I got you.
Who's here in 2018?
Hey, look, full disclosure, the eventual evolution of this is going to be one of those little bubble 360 cams sitting in the middle, and you get to look around with your virtual reality headset and decide who to focus on.
Yeah. We get up to go to the bathroom and it follows us in there.
Hover drone.
And they'll be like, I knew he had a small penis. I knew it. All that body, no penis.
Well, if they're judging you on your flaccid penis, then there's something weird there.
Well,
and if you're peeing with a hard penis, then there's something out there too. It's like I really gotta get myself going before I can go. Is that why it takes so long to use the public bathroom?
It's like a crank pump. You just
No, but like YouTube, it seems like a weird one because it's a lot of young people, and it's a weird like voyeurism kind of thing, where they're watching people who like either do vlogs, kind of like. You know, where they talk about their daily life or whatever and stuff like that.
Dude, so you want to talk an indication of how young...
shitting on my live streams.
Well, live streams are different because at least you're
Facebook second rate.
Well, like if you're doing something on like if you're doing like Twitch, you're playing a video game, or if you're doing like YouTube, there's a lot of people who like build shit like they'll.
Well, this is what I was kind of goes to.
I
what
just
I was going
live
to say
stream, bro.
the
Random
indication of
thoughts.
the indication of how young the YouTube audience. I mean, granted, the YouTube audience is so big that even the mature adult portion is still considerably large, but the youth base on it, man, the number one video game streamed and uploaded to YouTube is still Minecraft.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of the Fortnite, PUBG craze, like Minecraft.
Yeah.
And I've never played any of those games.
I've never played Minecraft.
I never played Minecraft, never played Fortnite, never played... What was the one before that? There was one before that.
The PUBG? Or the
what?
Don't know.
PUBG or...
PUBG and
Owl.
Fortnite are the big ones right
Outlook,
now.
or not Outlook, it was...
But you know what game I did play until my arm was sore? Because it was with a fucking joystick.
I was going to say Pocket Pool.
Y'all remember Half-Life?
Yeah. With
You
the
remember
wrench and
Half-Life?
stuff, yeah.
Right.
Shit, that game was a shit.
Yeah.
I love it. And part 2, they kind of fucked it up. I like the original.
Yeah, but that kind of led to the whole Valve being Valve. And,
Yeah, it allowed them to do
I'm not
Steam,
gonna lie though.
which is-
I'm not gonna lie. It's been such a long time. I don't remember the storyline.
Neither do I, but basically the Gaben is now God in the PC community.
the demigod for the PC master race.
Yeah. He's like
yeah,
Hitler,
that game. I used to spend hours on that fuck. Especially when I got to a level that I couldn't get past. I was determined. Like I was that little boy that was determined until I fucking. I think the longest I've ever spent on a level, like on a game, must have been about like 4 hours, 3 hours on that one level. And I like by the time I was done, like my fucking fingers and shit were all cramped, and I was going nearly fucking out of seizure, but I passed it.
Right.
Well, that's what you kind of think back to, like the good old days of being young and playing video games and stuff like that. I mean, like that's very, to our generation. And
But I've carried that to my adult life.
But that's because like our parents didn't have that. They didn't have like staying up with your cousins and playing video games all night and just like staying up all night is kind of like a universal thing.
Yeah, they weren't planning vacations to play, like I've got a couple games sitting on my shelf at home that's like one of these days I'm going to take a long weekend and just
really crank it out.
Yeah, stay up for 72 hours straight.
Just the other night, bro. Just the other night, I want to say, no, it's a month ago now. About a month and a half ago, I passed Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo from start to finish in 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, like I don't play a lot of video games anymore, but I still like I get the urge to enjoy the medium or the content. Like I'll watch shit online. Like they recently, I think it was earlier this year, something like maybe February or something, they came out with the 25th anniversary for a game that I played back in the day on Sega CD called Night Trap. Which is you familiar with this one?
Full motion video, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a live action video game to where you had to voyeurism, kind of like you had security cameras and you were springing booby traps trying to protect these women who were at a sleepover. Now that I say it sounds creepy as shit. But
they just came out with a game a couple years ago. I think Daylight or something like that. But the idea was. Group full of teenagers in a cabin in the woods, and there's a crazy killer on the loose. And depending on how you played out the various scenarios, it you got whatever ending.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like choose your own adventure and stuff like that.
The game that I remember that was the most sexually explicit game that I played, and this was like back in the day. And I didn't even know that it was sexual until I put it on. I was like, and I was young, but I was like, I'm pretty sure this is not supposed
Did you shoot Larry?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck?
The only reason I played it because it was sexually explicit.
Yeah, because you weren't supposed to.
I even played that goofy
didn't
one
know
they
that.
had for the, I think it was the Xbox.
Did you ever pass it, though? Was there ever a point
No, I don't think
in
I ever.
that game?
I don't think I ever played the
No,
game.
the
But I'm
original,
so
like-
familiar with it.
Oh, okay.
I want to say the first 3 games actually had a storyline to them.
Oh,
that
there
you
was
got to
more
the-
than.
There were like 8 or 9
Yeah, there
games,
was a
man.
few.
There's even been a couple in the
Holy
3D
shit.
space.
All I remember from that game was I was never able to get past the level because I got too drunk. Like, you were supposed to, like, remain sober until you, and my little fucking character always got too drunk, and then I ended up throwing up, and you would lose. And you had to start from
I
the
remember
beginning.
playing fucking Battletoads, which is like a meme now, but
I remember that.
Battletoads, you had that one part where you're supposed to like fucking jump shit, and it got to like an insane fucking speed, and like the
Y'all remember fucking Twisted Metal on the
Twisted
PlayStation?
Metal. Yeah, that was. I played a shit ton of that. I even like remember early.
Just so y'all know,
they breed-made it, and we played.
just
a lot
so
of
y'all
that.
know, if y'all are real game heads, you know how they re-released the Super Nintendo Mini and the Nintendo.
Oh yeah, they're
Mini?
releasing the PlayStation again.
Yeah, they're releasing the PlayStation again.
Oh, dude, there's a bunch of games I'd love to go back and play, man.
Fuck Gran Turismo, bro.
I mean, I played a lot of.
Siphon Filter.
Yeah,
That game was fucking fun.
yeah, man.
I mean, you're gonna go back and
yeah.
experience like the.
Oh, it'll
these
suck.
Terrible frame rates, but people still go back and play like
Dude, play it on
Priceless.
a regular TV, man, and you'll be fine.
No, I mean, I'd rather.
Oh, I mean, if you have one, but you can go find one cheap.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, people are still playing, fucking Smash from back in the day, like, because what it is. Yeah, I mean, old school games are fun to play and stuff like that. But like I was saying, like it's kind of like staying up late with your family or friends or whatever isn't really a new thing. Just the medium that we kind of did to stay up late was different.
Right.
So it's not just like staying up talking. It's like
Well, I like
stayed
to
up playing
think
video games, and then we stayed up an extra hour talking about.
in
shit.
my more positive moments, I do like to think that the hours that I've wasted literally staying up late at night watching videos on YouTube have at least been more educational, let's say, than what it used to be, which was, trying to like, what do they got on this station? Nothing. It's commercial. What do they got on this station? Let me go back to the first station. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I didn't have cable growing up until like maybe high school, but it's like I had
we
insomnia.
didn't
Oh,
get-
dude, it's even worse if you only had the 4, whatever you could pick up with the
Not really, because I had insomnia, so I'd stay up pretty late, like constantly.
right, but you
And-
just pick something and you go, I guess I'm watching
No,
this now.
PBS, man. PBS
Yeah.
was fucking great because they'd always play like, you had
so.
like NBC, then they'd always end the night with either like Outer Limits or something like that, which was like a very like knockoff kind of Twilight Zone, but it's still not bad. But then you also had like PBS playing like Nova or Nature Channel and shit like that. So like I'd watch this shit and then wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I'm so fucking tired, but I know so much now. And then like I'd like bust out this random shit in school, and they'd be like, "Oh wow, you're just really like studying or putting in time." I was like, "Nope, I just have insomnia, and PBS is free."
Yeah, man. There's a reason the documentary category on Netflix and Hulu and all that shit is as deep as it is, man. It's like
Oh yeah.
people
'cause we
got
have
time to kill.
yeah, exactly.
Or if you get those like,
That's exactly.
Hell, that's
what
part
I
of the
was
niche
thinking.
that we're trying to fill with this here podcast is you got hours to waste in the day. Put us all up in your ear holes.
just let us make smooth noise in your ear hole. Yeah.
The video is just a distraction.
It's for those people that want to put something on TV and just listen to something in the background.
Apparently, we've already had a couple people that have gotten in trouble with their significant others because they didn't want to walk away from the YouTube video. So
Yeah.
Put it on sound. I'm not one of those people that can.
I'm one of those weirdos too. I'll put the earbuds in and stick the phone or whatever in my
And
pocket.
I'm the weirdo that would rather watch it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't.
I've literally seen, because one of my favorites, it's not my favorite, but one of my favorite podcasts to watch, the visual ones, is Joe Rogan's. And his go long for fucking like 3 hours
Yeah,
sometimes.
or like Kill Tony or something like that. It's pretty long.
But I'm the type that I almost feel that I need the visual. Like the audio, the only way that I'll listen to the audio is like if I'm driving, because I don't listen to the radio. So like if I'm driving, before I start driving, I find one of my podcasts that I like and whatever I haven't caught up on, and I'll play it and I'm listening to it.
Well, like podcasts and stuff. Did I lose the? Oh no, podcasts and stuff. I can like listen to it and like, you know, follow along and stuff like that. Like I'm totally fine just listening to something. But if I have like TV shows that people put on TV and they just have it as like background noise, I can't do that. I will watch.
Oh, that's kind of weird. I was gonna say that's kind of weird, but I'm kind of contradicting myself, because another fucking weird thing that I do, and I've done it for years, before I go to sleep, like I can't go to sleep.
You have to have the TV on.
I have to have the TV on. So what I do is, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, I have reruns of My Wife and Kids recorded. So I will literally play those from like episode 1, like down the line, until I fall asleep. And then right before I fall asleep, I just do this. And I turn it off when I go to bed.
Hey, man, fucking back in the day, TV, well, I think they still do, but nobody uses them anymore. They used to have the shut-off timers. Oh, yeah. No, but you could set that. I remember doing that.
You could set it
it
up to
still
where
has
you shut off.
these two.
Yeah. I could never figure out who the fuck is going like, I'm probably going to pass out in 20 minutes. Let me set this for an hour.
Or,
I always figured it was a shame meter. It's like if I set this for an hour and I'm still awake, then I've gone too far.
me and my friend, we kind of wrote like a joke script about a guy who, it was like, the working title was called Netflix Dan. It was basically a guy that lost a bunch of weight because he got addicted to Netflix, but he kind of worked it out to where he would just watch Netflix while he went to the gym or was on the treadmill or something. So he ended up losing a bunch of Netflix or one bunch of weight. So it was like a combination between his workout video and like documentaries, like pushing the workout video.
Nice.
And so you had like interviews with his friends and things like that, or like, you know, this is a reenactment and stuff like that. So you had him. One of them was like him on the floor, like after like falling or something, or just being like right before he mixed it with the working out, where he just like, you know, eating food and just like totally like slob and just binge watching and stuff. And I think it was like he was like morbidly obese and he'd fallen, and it's almost like a Life Alert commercial where he's on the floor and then Netflix is like, "Are you still there?" He's like, "I'm still here. I'm still watching. Send help." And it's kind of just like this total, like, kind of like just making fun of all that. But yeah, that's what I think of. Like, the Netflix asking, like, "Are you still there or watching?" was kind of like a thing back in the day when I was like in college and just like watched a shit ton of Netflix, and I would just spent way too much time watching these weird shows. For a while, I got a VPN, and I would just go to different countries and watch their fucking version of Netflix and whatever shows they had that were niche.
Dude, I used to watch a bunch of British and there was one Italian show. I can't remember the name of it, but because PBS, not so much down here, though occasionally down here as well. But I remember in Houston, PBS would occasionally. It was run by the college students, so they'd put on like weird foreign shows with the subtitles and shit like that. And Netflix has kind of started to fill that role.
Yeah, especially like because I had a couple different versions of trying to get different shows from different places. So you'd end up with like the Spanish fucking dystopian Hunger Games version of the show.
You seen 3%?
Yeah, I think that was what it was.
That was a Brazilian show, man. Fucking good.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
They never did a second season, did they?
They did.
They did.
Just finished watching it a couple months back.
Oh, I might need to pop on and find that.
And they set up for that third season, baby. Yeah,
like they do. But yeah, you end up with weird shit like that, or like that's how I got into, at least before, that's how I got into like British shows and stuff like that. Later panel shows for British comedy, but
apparently a huge chunk of the genre, huge genre that's being that's picking up audience right now is South Korean crime dramas.
Yeah, I can see that. They have a bunch of. They're pretty good with the. They do a lot of stuff like that. South Korean shows are pretty good.
If you say so, buddy.
not all of them, but they do have like like any soap operas are weird, and they're in every country, and it's so. I mean, they're not because America has in the daytime because that's who their target audience is, selling like soap to housewives and stuff like that. And in Mexico, you have them like in the middle of the evening when you come home from work and shit like that. Korean ones are made for like the teenage girls and stuff like that. So like they're like love dramas and stuff like that, but they're still like they're like young women and mothers and stuff like that. So it's really weird. I wish I could just do that. Like I'd love infomercials from around the world, and I'd love like soap operas from around the world, and just have like a channel that I can go to and watch that shit.
Oh, dude, that's something that's been lost, man. Like back in the day, you'd go to someone's house and they had the actual like big satellite dish in the backyard, and you could change which satellite you wanted to point at.
Oh yeah, and then you get. Did you see that video of the?
Careful, Freddy, you're still hooked up, man.
Oh, you got the. You're good. Okay. But you get the satellite broadcasts that they were picking up from like news channels, like.
Oh yeah.
Behind the air and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was like you get like reporters talking like between breaks, and they weren't supposed to. It wasn't being broadcast, but it was. Yeah. You could pick it up from the satellite because it was being broadcast.
You want to talk about a bit of a change, man? Twitch now has multiple news stations that are running 24-hour streams on there.
That sounds about right.
So, I mean, it makes perfect sense, man. I mean, you don't have to have. I mean. It's Twitch, so you don't necessarily have to have the level of production that you would for, cable channel. Though, to be honest, I watch some of the cable channels now, and it's like, I can see all your...
better on Twitch.
Yeah, I can see all your tricks.
Yeah, was like Attack of the Show kind of tried to do that on Twitch, where they just called it Attack. They tried to recreate the whole...
That's right.
Thing. Yeah. I don't think they're doing it anymore.
For a while, I was listening to what's his name's podcast, the
Kevin Pereira.
Pereira, yeah.
I actually like him. He's really funny. He's quick-witted. But he was the Jamie for a while on Joe Rogan's podcast.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast for a while. Like he played like the
he was also
person.
Okay. Well, he was doing a podcast with Redban, who was Rogan's original producer for a while, and then he went on. He kind of broke off and did his own thing. He was doing a podcast with his girlfriend, and also doing a.
Oh, maybe then I have that wrong. But I thought he was on. Yeah, I thought he was on Joe Rogan's podcast for a while, or it might have been.
He did a couple episodes, man. But he was also doing a weekly podcast with Redban, and then I think when he kind of broke off and made his own studio, he cut back on it a bit. I haven't listened to it in quite a while.
Yeah, I haven't really kept up. I know the last thing I saw was him apologizing because he was faking views, and he had like bots viewing and pumping up the numbers, and he was apologizing for that.
That sucks.
Yeah, and they also like, I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of like trying to trap lightning in a bottle, because Attack of the Show was a really weird, niche-y kind of thing, and same thing with like that whole channel was basically like that. And then you can start, like, they slowly started, like, clipping away at what made them
actually listening to his podcast was kind of enlightening as far as how that broke down when apparently G4 from the beginning was not very well thought out. They were already trying to slot different things into it when they first purchased it. And then,
before that it was like a tech thing, and then they bridged it with another thing, and that bridging wasn't the best at the beginning, and then it kind of formed into a G4 thing, and then that became a thing once it was bought out.
Yeah, I think a lot of the beauty that came about through that was purely accidental or coincidental. It was just kind of at the right place at the right time, and some really interesting stuff happened with it.
Yeah. They did a lot of things that later became like almost Twitch-like, or Justin TV at that point.
Yeah, they did some live shows that were great. I mean, just the idea of kind of being, say now what's happening with Nerdist as far as they do the after shows where they're, let's go to the Twitch stream and see who wants to. I mean, all that was stuff that was originally done.
Yeah, with them, they were very social media connected and very aware of their audience and stuff like that. What was it? They did certain things that were really cool. They even got pretty good interviews and stuff like that. And their remotes were good. They were able to do a lot of cool things because of what it was, and it was all live too, which was, I mean, not all of it. They had pre-recorded stuff too, but a lot of it was just like fun in the moment stuff, and to do that for over 1,000 episodes and stuff like that, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, dude, and that was at that weird period of time where like video games were still kind of the mainstream media hadn't quite accepted that video games were not only a significant portion of media consumption,
but there could be a journalist integrity.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were doing those live streams from E3 with suits on and shit like long before. Now you go and you look at the stream, even the independent journalism companies, they've got their folks there like it's Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon football, and
yeah,
it's been fascinating to watch. I didn't realize I wanted to get to the point where I could kind of be like comfortable ignoring video games, because for a long time, and I remember in my childhood, like video games were that thing where it's like we must pay attention to them or they'll go away. It's like now it's like, nah, I'm good.
There's so much of it I'm
comfortable with the idea that if I lay off video games for say the next 15 years and then come back, there's gonna be something awesome to fuck around with. I mean, virtual reality is the shit. I've never, don't get me wrong, there's been very few times where I've stayed up for countless hours playing video games and gone like, oh, I feel kind of like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But so far in virtual reality, there's not been one of those times, and I've spent good chunks of like half a day just stuck inside the helmet and peel it off and some skin.
Peel it off. There we go.
Skin comes away with it, and yeah.
That's gonna be a good like when that becomes more of a modern like thing where like a lot of people have access to it and stuff like that.
Back to the Ready Player One shit, where I think they really did miss the opportunity, because there was some scenes in the book where you really did get the sense of the physical downsides of being stuck in
a van.
Not just in the van. That was the thing. In the beginning of the book, he was sedentary and kind of using joysticks and whatnot. And then by the end, he's kind of this.
He made money, and then
he's got an athletic build, and he's all healthy and eating organic food and shit because he realized he was playing physical game. Anyway, long story. I think they missed an opportunity.
Yeah,
that whole going to being a fat pimply slob, and then kind of going from that back to finding a balance. And
like you could still enjoy the video games and still be part of it.
There was legitimate character growth. I think we've kind of come up to an ending part here. One thing I did want to mention, I'd mentioned this to y'all before we started. We've said several times on this podcast that there are things that we get to talk about and subjects that we get to handle, and the way we get to handle them that don't necessarily, you don't see them represented in the standard media on news and on television and whatnot. And
we've definitely talked about that.
Right. I just a shout out when you got to recognize when you recognize. There was a NPR piece that I was listening to on the way over here to record by, I believe the guy's name was Avel Qureshi. On he was doing the history of the song Dixie. I believe that's the name of the song.
No.
Anyway,
there's a copyright strike.
Fuck them. Fair use, bitches. And it was a very interesting little piece. It was very informative. It was very. It's one of those subjects that very easily could have been played up to like the horrendous history of the American South, and no, they actually did a very good job about it. He had a soul singer on there. She was talking about why she believed you shouldn't erase history. You need to be aware of the context of these things that have come with us into the modern day. Mm-hmm. Be able to appreciate them while not
whitewashing or
you're not necessarily forgiving the sins of history, but you are recognizing, acknowledgement a little bit. It was very good piece.
I think that's cool. I think, it's a weird area because like you have like songs and culture and stuff, not culture, but you have like these are part of history. That's like no one's trying to take that away. But I think like because I got a call from a lady at the job that I worked, and she somehow got on the topic of that, and I was like trying to steer it away. And she was talking about how there's a mountain near her that have like kind of like Mount Rushmore. They have faces carved into it, and these are faces of like Confederate generals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay. I don't know how that one's taken care of, because it's like that seemed, I don't know, fuck.
I think that one got started in the 70s.
Yeah.
Hey man,
that's not really a culture thing, and that's more of like an ideology or idolism kind of thing.
I think
or more of a big fuck you to.
I'd like to hope that we've come to at least a place in human advancement and understanding that we know that carving into mountains is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody goes, I want to build this mountain into something, you should just go, no.
You're an asshole.
You don't get to hold the checkbook anymore.
It's like, well, I want to build through this mountain. It's like, maybe. Because it's
we can drill all the holes in it we want. Just don't be making it look like shit.
Don't. It's not art. It's because we're lazy. We don't want to go around it. But yeah, that's true. That is more of a dickish thing to do.
Yeah. Well, it's man, don't be putting shit on mountains. But no,
I like the way you just point.
Well, like songs and shit, man. Like I remember this has been one of those ongoing stories that every 5 years or so you hear this come back up. But I was just recently hearing another round of schools were censoring Huckleberry Finn.
Oh, because it says the N-word?
Yeah, it says that prodigiously. I want to say there's over 400 instances in the book. And look, I read the book. It's not pro, N-word. There's not.
That's just the way that was written, because that's the way the character talked.
Yeah, if you get to the end of that book and you're like, Jesus, I'm tired of reading this word in my head. Good, you got the point. That was the point. Yeah.
Explaining things to people isn't always fun.
Hey, look, if you're paying for the liquor, I will break it all down. But speaking of breaking it all down, man, I think we're coming up on at least 2 hours and some change. On this
definitely.
I think I was going to be able to talk.
2 hours and about 40 minutes.
We've had various conversations about like the podcast and whatnot. You're like, well, what are we going to talk? You and a couple other people. It's like, what are we going to talk about? Like, what I need to do my homework.
I love telling.
I just kind of like, where we're going to jump off from.
I know what it is. It's that hesitancy of like, can I talk for long enough to be entertaining?
Yeah,
if we get to the 40-minute mark and we're like, Timothy, it was great having you on. Can you just, get the fuck out? Just leave. No, don't make eye contact with the camera. Just leave.
Don't plug. No plug. You can't put your Twitter in.
By the way, I will still say that you have one of my favorite closing bits of all time, which is the...
don't ruin it.
Good. That means you still intend to use it, man.
I still like that one.
But you were one of those motherfuckers there have been a couple people where it's like, I've told them like, somebody, I like that bit. That bit is beautiful. Keep doing that bit. And then they just kind of like quietly step to the side and never perform the bit again.
Yeah, sometimes I forget about bits. Sometimes they're more like because I put something on Twitter and you kind of gave me props for it and stuff like that, and but that was more like a time sensitive one. Like I don't think I could use it longer than it's like Bill Cosby jokes. Like I can't keep using those.
Well, dude, it's like Christmas or fucking Valentine's or something. It comes around every once in a while. Like I am praying that Bernie Sanders runs again in 2020, man. My Bernie was on lock, man. It was fun to do. The crowds loved it.
Yeah,
it's like me. 3 minutes, maybe not 3 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes of my set will disappear when the president's out, because my Trump jokes will be irrelevant.
Yeah, so I mean, it's in the ether now. Like we all know, Bill Cosby is a piece of shit. Funny comedian, but rapist, alleged. But
No,
like 40 counts of.
rapist.
Is it?
Not alleged anymore.
Look,
Rapist.
if there's not
I just
somebody,
put alleged in front of everything now.
No.
if there's not somebody
Rapist.
out there putting together a coffee book just titled "The Great Rapists of History,"
Yeah.
they're missing an opportunity.
Or I mean, like you can kind of even before like if they did the trial and everything, even before that, you could be like, it's only like 50 counts of rape. Only like 50. Obviously, these women are out to get him, and nobody knew about it for many years. Obviously, they're out to get him. All 700 of them. There's a small nation against Bill Cosby. There's a small colony of ants. Like it's absurd at that point. The only joke I had about Bill Cosby was I named a cat after Bill Cosby because it involved a lot of the cat mimicked a lot of what he did. It involved a lot of sleeping and ending up in places he didn't belong. I think that was the only bit that I did on him. I wasn't too
Nice.
gonna beat that horse.
Yeah.
I just used them as a reference, and I got
Business reference.
the what?
Business
Oh,
reference on my
business.
resume.
I slept at his house once.
Slept through the night.
Nah, I used them as a reference in one of my jokes, and I got slack for that.
Oh my god! Can you imagine if he wasn't the face of if he didn't get sponsored by a pudding pop, but instead like Serta mattress or something, and just before it came out or something, he was like, I guarantee this will be the deepest sleep you've ever gotten, and just stuff like that, and just
That's
you
old.
had dozens of commercials, just him oh yeah, you'll sleep through the night, I guarantee it. Just
No, that punchline is perfect.
yeah, I could probably
This will be the deepest sleep you'll ever go.
yeah, it's like the rapey version of that the suit guy.
Oh.
I was like, I guarantee it. You love the way you look. I guarantee it. What was that for?
It's like when
Men's Warehouse.
Men's Warehouse. There we go.
It's
By
like,
the way, if you've never seen the Pete Holmes parody of that, beautiful.
it's like when Eminem used that so simple line, but it was hilarious. When he said, "I feel like I touched on everything." No, I know he said, "I feel just like Michael because I just touched on everything but little boys." And I was like, oh, "That's gold." And everybody just exactly.
Yeah. No, dude. Yeah, man. I was listening to an Eminem track a while back. I want to say it was, what was the name of that? Maybe Bagpipes from Baghdad, where he's doing the bit about Christopher Reeve, and he's like, "You think you're hardcore? Pull out the cardboard."
Yeah. But that was just I was amazed.
Yeah.
I was amazed at first with that lyric. I was amazed first with the wordplay.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that's kind of fucked up what he said,
Oh,
yeah. I was like, but the wordplay was on point.
Yeah, you get really smart, and then just having to make.
And
it
he
rhyme,
was the only rapper to do it in the middle of when that was well, not in the middle, but when it had happened, to actually pull off the Columbine line, and that's why it was censored off the album. But then, 13 years later, he came back and did it again, and this time it wasn't censored.
Time plus tragedy, or tragedy.
Which, even when you listen to the censored line,
it's not that bad.
Not. Boy, if you really look at it, it is bad. But I'm saying, you still know what the fuck he said. It's like if I took 7 kids from the Columbine and strapped them with a 40 and a 9. I don't remember the calibers exactly, but that's basically what he said.
Yeah.
And even censored, I figured out what he said, and I was like,
"Oh yeah, censorship like that."
But I was like, why would you censor that? And then,
if anything, it draws attention to the word more. Like if you bleep a cunt or a fuck or something like that, you're just gonna be like, well, I know all these words. I'm gonna play, Mad Lib with it. Just I'm gonna throw a fuck in there. I'm gonna throw a cunt in there. Throw a bitch in there. And if none of them work, I'm gonna know there's a new word out there that I don't know. And I'm gonna find out.
It's just like in that one movie scene again. Y'all are bringing this shit all the way back. That one, y'all ever seen Money Talks with Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen?
Vaguely.
Oh man, you need to watch that. Is it? That's a neighborhood classic. But there's a scene in the movie where he's Chris Tucker works at a car wash, and he's one of those ghetto hood car wash.
Young Chris Tucker, or
young,
like really
young,
thin?
very very young Chris Tucker. So so he's at a car wash or whatever. And
I'm thinking about going home and watching Rush Hour. Honestly,
Don't do it. You're a young man.
the Charlie Sheen plays a news reporter. So he's doing a news report on local crime or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey man, so just so they cut the TV on there, the interview's going, and then he's like, "Hey man, so what do you think the local crime scene is really going down here?" And he's like, "Well, fuck man, what do you think of the?" And he's like, "Cut." And then he tells him, "You can't talk like that on TV." He's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Fuck what?" And he's like, "You can't say fuck on television." "Why the fuck not?" And they just go off on them. And but what amazed me about that is that like you were saying earlier, while I was watching it on TV, and because I was young again, I was young, naive, and then it made me think. I was like, yeah, you can't say fuck on TV. Why is he saying it on TV? And then I didn't make the connection that it was a movie, and then the movie was on TV. Again, I was young.
All these layers of understanding.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Like, it took me a while to figure out, like, I never understood, like, why HBO and, like, all those premium channels could, like, say, get away with, like, a fuck and a tit and shit. Like, exactly.
They don't have sponsors.
Yeah.
But
when you have money, you can fuck anything or anybody for that matter.
I didn't think about the sponsor thing. But yeah, that is kind of what it is.
No, that's what it is. I mean,
yeah, because they don't want their brand being associated with it.
Yeah.
If it has
from the sponsor side, but as far as HBO, because HBO, Showtime, and to this day, HBO, Showtime, because they're funding their own shit.
Except that HBO has now decided that they're going to show everything, including oral sex down on the line.
Oh, for real? When did you
Dude, watch The Deuce.
Oh.
Great show, by the way.
Did you,
Maggie Gyllenhaal still has good tits.
Did you ever see that? It was a short. Basically, it's not porn. It's HBO.
Yes.
Which was really fucking funny. I think it had like a Allison Hayslip who was on AOTS, who we were talking about earlier.
Maybe.
But yeah, so that's basically just like a bunch of actors, like, and they're just describing scenes that have been in HBO, like, you know, and then this midget's giving it to me from behind, and like he's standing on a chair, and like, yeah, and there's like 15 Greek dudes, and we're all just jerking it off onto this one hooker, and just like they're pulling scenes from like different HBO shows, like Spartan and like Game of Thrones and shit like that, and then like there's like faces of horrified family members and friends, just like, oh my god, you got cast in porn? It's like, no, it's HBO. And it's just like, congratulations. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, just simulated sex. It's not. I mean, is softcore porn even a thing anymore?
Nah.
Like, I remember there was
that's what basic cable is now.
Yeah, but I remember there was like a
Cinemax.
You know what? I think softcore porn actually has a little bit more of a kick to it now than it used to. Like, I've watched a few reaction videos to that one Little Dicky song.
Letter Freak?
No, but that one's pretty heavy. Pillow Talk.
Oh, it's yeah, that one's pretty good.
Yeah, but it starts off with them fucking, and he like smacks the shit out of her ass, and I've seen the reaction videos on that. And they're like, "Oh my god, this is so scandalous," and it's like, tame as fuck.
Yeah, when it busts into like the fucking like actual like bullshit that he does with the Pillow Talk, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty entertaining. This is definitely something you could watch stoned. And
this bitch don't know about Pangea.
Yeah, The Walking Brain was pretty fucking great timing on that thing. And then they even had like the guy from
Oh yeah, John C. Reilly
John C.
plays
Reilly,
God.
there you go. Yeah, he plays God. That's right.
I'm gonna put dinosaurs on that bitch. Why'd I put dinosaurs on that bitch?
Yeah, I
Seriously.
need to watch that again. I haven't seen Little Dicky do anything in a little while.
He did that video earlier this year with what's his name? Chris Brown. Freaky Friday.
Dude,
He's been busy
Yeah.
just talking shit.
I mean, he's a
I've
rapper
seen
now.
him in interviews, and that's what he's been doing.
He's a rapper.
I don't
now.
know who he's shitting on now, but
Well, even we talked about that Canadian Indian guy, Russell Peters.
Yeah.
I saw him on like what was it, Jay in the Morning or the hip hop show or the hip hop
Yeah.
station, and they were talking about him having beef with the
Trevor Noah.
Trevor Noah. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that on a podcast of
and
a few years
Trevor,
back.
for the record, and y'all might kill me for this, but I find Trevor funnier than Russell.
I mean, yeah. I mean, everybody's different on who they enjoy and what style and stuff like that. But their whole thing was like the beef was like he's taking jokes that he's done and using them in his set and stuff like that. And they kind of do have similar stuff because they rely on a lot of act outs and like accents and stuff like that. They do have similar kind of.
Yeah, Trevor Noah's in a weird place, man, because I don't think he would be as recognized as he is if he hadn't have taken over The Daily Show.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that is I don't think he was necessarily qualified to. I mean, if you're going to keep doing what Jon Stewart was doing, then I don't think he was necessarily qualified. Now, if you want to go with the angle, well, he's doing his own thing with it, by all means, go for it. But he also wouldn't have gotten as much press negatively. Like, people wouldn't have given a shit that, Russell Peters said he stole a joke back in 2007 or something like that. Or, some of the tweets like, oh, he's being racist or something like that. Then, okay. Yeah, man, he was, I think he's swinging as hard as he can I think he's swinging outside of his class, but fuck it, he's doing it, man.
I like the, I don't know where I saw it, but I thought it was someone like was insinuating that him and Tammy Lauren or whatever that blonde.
Tommy Lauren,
yeah, that they were hooking up or something like that. I was like, that would be funny.
Now, here's the funny part. I've seen the same clip of them on The Daily Show. One was titled Trevor Noah destroys Tommy Lauren, and the other one was titled Trevor Noah dismantles, I'm sorry, Tommy Lauren dismantles Trevor Noah. Oh, yeah. And it's like, okay, man, whichever little reality bubble you want to live inside.
I avoid anything that has like that kind of title.
It can be fun sometimes.
Sometimes, but it's like social justice warrior destroyed by. It's like
it's like reading the back in the day when they used to have the tabloid rack at the supermarket. It's like, ooh, a new alien baby.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
But yeah, I mean, let's wrap this one on up here. We've talked. Titties are good. Capitalism is inevitable. Jokes is hard. You want to let the people know where you're at, where they can find you, get in touch with you?
Yeah, I don't have any upcoming shows. I performed last week. It wasn't great, and I performed the month before that, and it was a lot better. You can follow me on Twitter at @thatlooper, exactly like that. I do have a website that I'm building. It's not ready yet, but it's probably not going to be ready anytime soon. Loopercomedy.com. And
nice.
Hopefully that becomes a thing. I have my name also, like TimothyLooper.com, but that seems more like a resume than a fucking... And I hope if people search for me, they search comedy and my name, as opposed to just my name.
Gotcha.
That seems better.
Still have fingers crossed that one day you'll be known as Looper Timmy, but whatever.
Yeah, me not so much. Timmy's always like a name that like... I have that as one of my bits. Like Timmy is like one of those names. Like Timmy was molested. Timmy was like, I was like, I'm surprised I wasn't molested as a child, and then I do a whole bit about that. But like, Timmy's one of those like filler names that you kind of put in there, and then it's biblical too. So you end up like, it was 2 books. Like I had a lady call in. She's like, "Oh yeah, Timothy. I don't know why I didn't remember that. It's biblical." I was like, "Yeah, it is." She's like, "Have you heard?" And I was like, "Oh shit, the fuck." She's gonna go on, and she went on like a little whole rant about being spiritual and blah blah blah. I was like, "I already fixed your issue. Just let me go." Just let me not have to talk to you anymore.
If you truly love God, let me be.
Just put me out of my misery. I'm dying for your sins.
All right, man. Well, hey, I follow you on Twitter, man. I think
Yeah.
you're hilarious.
Thank you. I get drunk and tweet. And the misspellings, and it's all great.
All right.
Nice.
Well, if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can find me at hatfieldstandup@gmail.com, as well as Hatfield Standup on Facebook and Twitter. And you can find me under Sean Hatfield on YouTube. You'll know it's my channel because it's got my pretty face on it.
And you can find this and the rest of it across the board on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at I was going to say FreddyG.com. Damn it, Tim.
Oh, they're going to buy the domain now.
At FreddyG. Just across the board. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
You got to go drop that $12 now before someone buys it off you. I did that on a...
It's not available.
Oh, yeah, probably. But I did that on another podcast where I said that I had that. And I was like, oh, wait, I haven't bought the domain yet. Cut that out. Don't want some asshole just squatting on me. Because that's what I would have done.
Buttslime.net is mine, damn it. You can find this podcast, the audio version, at shoutengine.com/bouncingbrains. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/bouncingbrainspodcast. We have a group on there, so you can get in there and have a discussion, argue which one of us you think looks better with the bald head, who you thought was a better guest, who might win in a monkey knife fight, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. You can find us on YouTube under Bouncing Brains. We do not have 100 subscribers yet, which we would like to. Tell your friends, tell your mama, tell passerbys on the street. We got good shit, and we're giving this stuff away for free. So far, we've got the subscription in the works. But yeah, once we get to 100, we'll be able to say that we have youtube.com/bouncing brains. But right now, it's youtube.com/bunch of incomprehensible symbols. But if you search for Bouncing Brains Podcast on YouTube, you will find episodes of this program. And we are on Stitcher, and we are on Google.
Yes? We are now officially on Google.
Google Podcasts, motherfuckers. So
after 2 months of waiting and shit.
And on like the 5th page of Google results as well.
We're still fighting iTunes. It's gone down to a judge's decision. We'll be up soon. Yeah. So that's
I mean, if y'all care to come watch me live, I keep forgetting to fucking say this. I've known for a minute now. If you do want to come and watch me live, I'm kind of funny a little bit sometimes. The more you drink, the funnier I get. Think about it. I have a show on the 26th of September. So yeah, come out, hit me up for those tickets. I can get you those tickets. So if you want to go, bring your family, bring your friends, bring your wife, your lover, whoever. Just buy tickets.
Those are obviously not the same person anymore.
Of course. So bring them both. We can all laugh together for one night. So yeah, I have a show on the 26th, and we have a show, Bouncing Brains podcast, being shot from a charity event. It's called...
Right. This will have already taken place by the time this comes around.
I keep forgetting.
It's fine. This episode will still come out before we show that episode, but we will be recording live from the Give a Hand charity at Yebaria Cultura in McAllen. It is a charity to give prosthetic hands to children who have lost theirs. So that's going to be cool. They're going to be giving away a $3,000 robot, and they're going to be 3D printing a hand right there on site. There'll be music. I think there will be food. I don't know. But there will be music. There will be comedy. There will be Bouncing Brains recording.
There will be armless children.
And we also booked this
Need we say more?
Exactly.
You ever seen a gimpy child? Never mind. Be selling our own tickets to the event. You can peek over the fence. But we will be doing that, and it's a great charity, so look them up online. Yeah, donate to that. Timmy, always great to talk to you, brother.
It was
Yeah,
good
man.
having you, man.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot
Great
of fun.
content, great conversation. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now smile at the camera like you enjoyed yourself.
Now we're gonna put this couch into work.
That's the other movie we're shooting. Good night, folks.
Yeah.
Good night.